Hey folks, thanks again for watching the Big Mountain Dub Club. If you have any comments, any suggestions, whatever, give it to us, okay? You can send them to bigmountaindubclub@gmail.com. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you live, why you like the program or not. Send us a voice note maybe, or a picture, a video. We want to know what you're all about, okay? Big Mountain Dub Club, thank you. Boy, we are rocking and rolling here, folks. We are late. Sorry. Welcome to Big Mountain Dub Club episode six. Wow, already episode 6. All right. Well, thank you for joining in, my people. Quino from Big Mountain. What am I? Am I looking at the camera?
The Canon.
Canon. Okay. Beautiful. Lots been going on this week, and one thing that happened this week. I have 2 kids that had birthdays this week. My son Jacob 2 days ago, and now it is my daughter Adana's turn. So I want to give a late happy birthday to my boy Jacob. He's been on the Dub Club. He was on the Dub Club a couple weeks ago. And then my daughter Adriana McWhinney. And we're celebrating this week having my dear sister Tanya Stephens as the interviewer, or the interview that we're about to present to you. So stick around. We got a great interview with Tanya Stephens. You just have to bear with me for a little bit, collect my thoughts, and try to pull this show together. It's been quite an adventure. Episode 6. That means that we've survived for a month now, because really episode 1 and 2 sort of were dispersed. Didn't really happen in sequence, but the last 4 shows have been every Friday morning. Sometimes we're not on time, like we were this time. We were supposed to be on about a half an hour ago. So thank you guys for those of you that are viewing this. Thank you. It's been an emotional couple of weeks for reggae musicians. Last week we were all mourning the loss of Toots Hibbert. And then shortly after we began that whole process, we heard of another great person in reggae music, Barry O'Hare. Just an amazing engineer, producer. Worked a lot with bands like Third World, Steel Pulse, Shaggy, Burning Spear. Just really, really important person. And I mean, talking to people last week, it was just like the amount of people this man touched on a deep level. Everybody was hurting. So we send our condolences to Barry O'Hare's family. And, just another sign of a lot of loss that we're going through. And I know we're all trying to process it in our own way, trying to make sense of what is going on. I know there's a lot of hysteria and just a lot of misinformation going on right now. I think, you're about to hear, Tanya touched on the whole idea that it's hard to mourn correctly right now, right? Mourning is supposed to be a physical event. We're supposed to be able to hold each other and cry, right? And reminisce and get together and try to process things like that, But we can't right now. So it's strange time. But Tanya, We got lots of woman energy in the show today. I'm so happy about that, because it's been a male-dominated situation here, and I haven't felt comfortable about it, because that's not what we're trying to put across. I mean, I truly believe that, where is my, I'm going to have to tune this with my phone. You guys just bear with me. I truly believe that the main problem with the world today is the lack of woman energy in the organizational process of society. I think if we just fix that problem alone and just, you know, I believe that there's more than half the world, I think 3/4 of the world, really doesn't get capitalism. And never will. Never will. I know capitalism for me has been a real tricky thing for me to figure out how to maneuver through. I don't like it. And I think, you know, there's a certain amount of greed that you need to have to be successful in capitalism that most of the world is just not comfortable with. And it's a cultural thing. Success in capitalism takes generations of, you know, preparation, tutoring, family, traditional type of stuff. And I don't believe woman energy is congruent with capitalism. I believe that. I believe that somewhere along the line, you know, the emergence of Western religions and then kind of capitalism, slavery, colonialism, that's when we began to move away from feeling like we were a part of this earth to feeling like we were something separated from the earth, and therefore the earth was there for us to take advantage of. And I think, you know, it might have been something that coincided with us adopting agriculture and all of that kind of stuff. But I don't even think we really have to go back that far to see that there has been this materialistic drive, this macho materialistic thing going on. And I think it fueled slavery, colonialism, and I think it fueled global warming, the destruction of our earth, the destruction of our environments. This is macho male energy. This is what we have to eradicate. And it's not easy. Men like me that supposedly get it, I find myself contradicting myself all day long. It's not easy, man. You got to get it back on that horse and remind yourself. Woman energy is where it's at. I wrote this song for my mama and my baby girl. It's her birthday today. Adana, baby, this is for you. A new day begins. Grace and strength is her image. And though she suffered oh so much, she still has the golden touch. You just can't keep this woman down, no, no. She will always be around, knowing how to make everything right. My sweet goddess of light, linda chicana, nueva chicana, what a lady, linda chicana, nueva chicana, yeah. I will sing her praise out loud, 'cause she makes me oh so proud. She's my connection to this world, my mama and my baby girl. Just can't keep this woman down. She will always be around, knowing how to make everything right. My sweet goddess of light, linda chicana, nueva chicana, what a lady, linda chicana, si se puede, nueva chicana, she's my baby, linda chicana, she will always keep me warm, nueva chicana, what a lady, linda chicana, si se puede, nueva chicana, what a lady. That's the best you're going to get, folks, at 9 o'clock in the morning. Hope you enjoyed that. Yes, Mama, Adana, baby, I'm so proud of you. The interview, I'd feature another one of my daughters. I have a lot of daughters. I've always been around a lot of woman energy. But the interview with Tanya Stephens, I asked my other daughter, Natalie, to say a couple words. So you'll be able to see all of that. I'm not going to go into that. But let's go into this interview. We also got Abu Maye, my brother, Sudanese child, from Dynamq Sound, spinning the dub plates, the River Nile Crocodile from South Sudan. You don't want to miss this brother. So stay tuned, everybody. What are we ready for? What are we going into right now? Interview. All right. Yes, let's do that. Because I know I'm doing a horrible job of talking, as I always do. So I think it's better that we watch this amazing interview with my sister and Tanya Stephens. I think you're going to get so much out of this, and not because I'm interviewing, because she's talking. She's a brave individual. Reggae music, maneuvering through the industry of music and reggae music and all of the pitfalls along the way. It's a music that creates a lot of controversy, and we're all part of one big family almost. So it's like we all got to deal with each other in the reggae world, right? You know, once you dip into reggae and you decide to be part of reggae, there's a little bit of pressure that comes along with that. And I know everybody feels it, you know, because, and the reason is because reggae music is a form of radical tradition. It's something that started from people suffering and creating music, not because they necessarily wanted to make a hit or try to look cool or sound cool. No, they created music because they were coping with life. And that's really what the Dub Club is all about. We're trying to figure out, what is that fire? What is that fire that got everything going? Well, Tanya Stephens is that fire. And you're about to see her in an interview. I wish we could play her music, but because of the way things are right now in the internet and the this and the that and the rights to this, and then they block it here and they block it in Sweden and they block this and that. We're already dealing with that issue with our DJs. So you guys know where to find it. Her music is everywhere. She's a musical legend already and still so young and vibrant and so ready to give us lots of good music. So, and I've been blessed to start working with her, collaborating with her. We did a song on her record uh, earlier this year, and Ting Zaguan. All right, so here we go. Enjoy. Tanya Stephens. It is my great honor to introduce to the Big Mountain Dub Club uh, Tanya Stephens. 1996, she had a single, You're Not Ready for This Yet, that really brought much attention to her worldwide. 10 years later, number one in Jamaica and the Caribbean, These Streets, and a song that I know was number one in my house, being the father of five daughters, who all consider Tanya a big hero. Thank you, my dear, for coming on the Big Mountain Dub Club. So nice to talk to you.
Oh, it's completely my pleasure. Really.
I I know we're going through some trying times, and we just we are suffering and processing the passing of Mr. Toots Hibbert. I know you're going through some personal feelings of loss right now. Any words that you want to share on what Jamaica's going through right now with the losses of our icons?
Well, the thing is, it's not as if this is something new to us, because death is a sure part of life. But when it feels sudden, and when it happens in a time when you can't even mourn properly, when you can't socialize, then it kind of amplifies it, because of lockdown, because of quarantine, social distancing. People are passing silently. We can't comfort their loved ones who are grieving. We can't seek comfort for ourselves because we can't be around what is really our extended family. Our music family is, well, my music family is my family.
Right,
And so when I'm grieving for the loss of a member of my family, I want to be around the rest of my family,
right.
and we can't do it right now. So it feels weird, and I know that this is taking a toll. A lot of people are focusing on the financial, the economic fallout, but I think we need to spend a lot more time paying attention to the psychological fallout, because we're
Mm.
not coming out of this the same way we went in. We need to pay attention to what's happening to us mentally, because this is not going to leave us untouched.
And I think this is where the role of artists, musicians, poets like yourself really it shows its meaning in profound ways. You know, do you have any personal memories about Toots? Um, it was. Is there a time you remember that there was no Toots Hibbert?
No, I don't have a noted segment of my life at all. He's always been there. I grew up on his music, with his music in house. And the thing is, there was a time when Jamaica was more segregated as far as what kind of music was considered, like from the rabble, and certain things couldn't be played in my grandparents' household, but Toots was always welcome.
Wow.
Um, he was he crossed boundaries, he was fine by everybody, and and then his personality was so infectious too. When you see him in interviews, because as a kid I would only see him on TV. I would never be privileged to see him in person, but he just seemed like so much larger than life. Kind of reminded me of James Brown. Like, I feel the same way about both of them. And he just felt like the epitome of original Jamaica. The way
Hmm.
we are, we're infectious, we're melodic, and we're full of life, and we're dancing, and we're music, and we're expression. And Toots is all of that, and he's all over the timeline of my life. There's never been a no Toots time.
Wow. And well, I found him so interesting in so many ways because he really kind of crossed the whole reggae, um, when the whole reggae trademark, so to speak, got created. Right, he was before that, so he he really felt like there was no rules set upon him that some of us other musicians, some of us especially that came from California, really felt it was important to stay close to the dreads and Ice Golden Green and a Rastafari. I mean, that's kind of like what guys like me used to deal with our insecure situation, right? Um, I know Toots never seemed insecure to me the times that I got to see him, but I mean, I mean, the planet Earth was his living room. It seemed like anywhere he went.
Yes, I got that too. And I feel very honored and blessed and fortunate to have met him in person, to have been in the same space with him. But he really, yeah, he had no boundaries, did he?
No.
Um, he just felt like synonymous with life, with space, any space. So yeah, I think I don't put Toots in any kind of box.
No, not whatsoever.
He's bigger than any box you could ever imagine, and being able to watch him, and this is a good thing I love about technology, that he doesn't die, and that we can keep watching him and keep being inspired by him, because it's impossible to watch him and not being affected in some way,
Uh,
because the man is just, he fills space.
right, right. And now that he's gone, we definitely are seeing the how important he was to our lives. Well, speaking of not being able to put anybody in a box, that's how I describe you. Um, you seem very comfortable with breaking rules and creating your own form. I since you and I met each other, I've been able to go back and listen to a lot more of your catalog. As I told you, my daughters all played your music all throughout. They're very spread apart age wise. So I had a daughter in high school at the same time I had a daughter that was just a baby, coming up, um, and I was real busy during these times. I was actually teaching high school, so it was really tough for me to tune in to what was going on at that time. If it hadn't been for my daughters, I probably would not have been as exposed to your music, because it just wasn't a time when I was spending a lot of time performing and in the scene, right? And I know that you really do fill a hero spot for young women. Do you get that? I mean, the responses that you're getting from your supporters, do they express how important you are to young women?
Well, how to put this? Well, I have had a lot of feedback. Well, I've had direct discussions with women of all ages, and they are very vocal when they talk about how they relate to particular pieces of my work. And I get the feeling that we have, sometimes experiences or sometimes just ideology in common, and we provide like an anchor for each other.
Mm,
The things that I'm going through, and I express it through music, and then I meet people and they tell me that they understand, and it feels better for me. So it's like therapy. So it doesn't feel to me like I am providing something so much as we are sharing something between us. So this has been my therapy for decades. As I grew up, I really grew up in music, like just not only grew up chronologically in music, but grew up like emotionally in music too.
mm,
And music is what has been my treatment for every
mm,
every emotional illness I've ever had.
mm.
So it works both ways. Whatever I've heard I've done for people, people have done for me. So, and it's still going on. So I'm grateful for that too. Because what would I do without him? You know.
That is so right on. And that just leads me to my next question because really the Dub Club, what we're trying to do here is just trying to find root experiences that are giving people the power, like yourself, to get up in front or to just be able to open their mouth and have something come out based upon life experience, like you're saying, you know. Now, do you remember the first time you started to write down words? And you said it was your therapy, right? Um,
Yeah.
did you start to write before you discovered that you had a skill in music?
Well, writing is how I entered music because I never really thought of myself like a singer. I felt like I wouldn't be so bold as to think I could sing, but I'm first and foremost I'm a literature student and I really love the written word. I really do. I'm addicted. And I started out first by writing poems, stories, short and long stories. And the poems eventually grew into melody, and I don't know where they kind of merged. But I mean, every Jamaican child grows up with a lot of music in and around them. So it's for me, it's not a big mystery that somehow the poems became songs.
Hmm.
But it was first through writing and expressing myself, talking about how I felt. And then, of course, I was influenced by a lot of people who did a lot of that. I grew up on Smokey Robbins. Smokey Robbins is my hero,
Oh
my
wow,
all
really?
time.
Oh
It's
wow.
it's very weird. Like I'm a Jamaican kid from the country, from the bush. But when I listen to Smokey, like every heartache, and at first the heartaches weren't about boys or relationships. It was just not feeling like I got respect as a human, as a child, and feeling like I was getting the short end of the stick. And Smokey had every emotion. Like he didn't sing my words, but he sang my feelings because he was so into heartbreak. and
Yes.
and at I think about at 10 years old, the Tracks of My Tears became my all-time favorite song, and still is my all-time favorite song, which I think is extremely sad, by the way. I think it's really, really sad, but that's the reality of it. That's my jam. Tracks of My Tears.
Ah.
I used to sing that, and just I would cry even when nothing was wrong with me. I would sing that
Ah.
and just cry. That was like my crying song.
Mm.
And so he's my hero because it's better to let it out, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess about God, maybe it's already a year ago. I got to see the documentary of Motown on on Netflix. That just kind of one of the recent ones, and it was mostly um, Smokey and oh God, why am I forgetting his name? Hello, the president of Motown Records,
Quincy.
Mister.
Is that Quincy?
No, it's not Quincy.
I don't know where Quincy's
Gosh
from.
darn it.
I really don't know
Motown.
very
Yeah,
much
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
about those
Oh,
things.
you should check it out. You should check it out
Yeah.
because but Barry Gordy.
Very good.
And
Okay.
it's pretty
Yeah, I
much
know the name. I don't know the company.
It's Barry Gordy and Smokey Robinson are pretty much the main characters of the documentary, and it just goes. It's amazing, and Smokey Robinson was the driving force. You know, Barry Gordy was the businessman, was the man who knew how to get it done, how to find the money, how to he was the
Yeah,
disciplinarian, but really Smokey Robinson was that
the creative.
songwriting force that
Yeah.
whenever somebody didn't have a song, he would write it.
Hmm.
When somebody didn't have an arrangement, when the production wasn't quite there, it's a great documentary. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch it. But
Yes.
that's another part of the inspiration too is writing. Like he's so expressive, so I took a lot from him with that too. Because he's a great. I think outside of Burt Bacharach, um,
Wow.
I'm I'm obsessed with Burt Bacharach. I'm obsessed. I I'm awestruck by his catalog.
It's amazing.
Just I'm blown away by his catalog. I have a collection of his catalog with him
Wow.
singing his written works, and it's just you get lost in it. And Smokey is kind of like not lesser, but a smaller version
Right.
of Bert. So
Yeah.
these are people who inspire, they motivate you. It's like it makes me want to do stuff. It helps with my schoolwork because expression, comprehension and being able to express what you're thinking, what you're translating, what you're feeling came from music. It didn't really come from academics. It didn't come from teachers. It came from the musicians, from the guys who sang and cried, from Otis, from Jackie Wilson, from the guys who just felt things and expressed them, and from our
Absolutely.
own too, because Lord Kitchener from the Caribbean and Sparrow
Mm.
for being tongue in cheek and for being so cheeky and so brazen and so obvious yet so subtle. And these are people who craft skills in other people, including myself. And yeah,
Geniuses. Geniuses. Well, and now it's really all coming together because, like a lot of your songs, written during the I'm trying to think of what, we're talking about the early 90s dancehall era.
yeah,
The elements are so few, right? I mean, it's just like you got dong 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 king dong king dong gong gong, and then you got like a little snare drum, a kick drum, and a tss, 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 and that's all there is. And then you're singing this melody on top of it that's just going totally against the grain of the chord structure. And it was like, and now I'm going, that's Burt Bacharach right there, you know? Just, yeah, I mean, you would come in with something like, "Do you know the way to San Jose? La la la," right? And don't don't
yes,
go ding 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 dong.
yeah,
Um,
yes.
you are so brave. I mean, it's like I don't. Have you ever met a rhythm you didn't like? I mean, some of these rhythms that I heard you on top of were straight out of
Honestly,
The Casio era of reggae music.
let me tell you, the most intimidating rhythm I ever met was the Joyride, the one on which I sang, "You're Not Ready for This Yet." When Dave Kelly first gave it, he made me listen to it, and I couldn't come up with anything. And then he let me take it home to listen to overnight because I said, "You write something on it because I can't write on this." It just felt like it was offbeat, off key. It felt like it was so many types of wrong. But I wanted to be on it so bad because it's Dave Kelly, and I know it's gonna be a big deal. And so I begged him to write on it, and he was like, "But I want your vibe. I want what you think. I want to hear what you have to say." And then I went home and I tried, and I couldn't even snap to the beat. I couldn't click my fingers to the beat. So I came back with it the next day, and I was like, "Dave, I honestly can't write on this. And please write me something." And he said, "All right, sit down with me. Tell me what you want to say." And so I told him what I wanted to say. And that story was about men who talk much more than they can deliver. And it's funny that people sum it up at face value and call it me talking about simply sexual encounters, and it's not. It's like it was about more than that.
Psychological,
About,
full on.
yeah, it was about you. I would not have been expecting anything if you didn't say anything, but now you've said so much, and so you built me up, and I'm expecting a lot, and now you come and there's not even half of what you promised, and I'm disappointed, and you're acting like I'm less than because I'm disappointed and I'm unmotivated, and as a result, I'm sitting there bored, and you're calling me boring, but I'm actually bored. And so that was the discussion that we had. And it was like basically saying them not ready for this yet. And I'm like, they definitely are not. And so he penned,
That's great.
we just sat there talking while he wrote, and that was how that came about.
And then
But I
he
couldn't
and he
write that
just kind of
myself.
what he helped you with the lyrics, or once the lyrics got,
He
I mean,
wrote,
not the
he
lyrics,
literally
the
wrote,
melody and everything.
yeah, he translated discussion to song.
Wow.
So it was um melody and the words and it I had an argument. and he translated it into song. So it's basically his writing. Um, if even if it's my sentiments, it's his writing, no, and I don't dispute it, But it was I could not have written it, I couldn't. But it turned out to be like the hugest thing. After a while, I was hearing it every day, and I was like, I'm sick of this song. I wasn't sick of, my career getting some attention and me becoming established as an artist. But I was just singing it all the time. And then it's bad when you're just coming into the business as an artist, like you have a song that's getting popular, but you have no money. So you still have to
Boy,
jump on the bus, and then everybody in the bus is
boy.
asking you to sing it, and it's ah painful.
I know very much what that feels like. Yes, I.
And it's love, but when you get too much of anything, it's a bad thing. So even love can hurt like that. Like
Yes.
it's really an overdose.
Yes. Well, I mean, it all the things we have to process as artists. Uh, sometimes when you're just not up to it, right? You just don't have the energy to deal with the public. You just want to be hidden and just do your own thing.
Yeah,
Put your little headphones on and just
yeah,
and but we're asked to. No, you gotta be on. You gotta be happy. You have to be charming. We don't always
yeah.
feel like that.
I have a problem with that because I don't want to be anything that I'm not. Like, so if I when I go on the road, if I don't feel like smiling, I don't force a smile. And sometimes people get offended because they think I should have an automatic smile on layaway, just waiting for them to. As soon as our eyes meet, I should break out into a smile. But you don't know what happened a while ago.
No,
You don't know. And I'm very
no.
human. I mean, I like to think I come from another planet, but I've been begging them to come back for me, and nobody's come. So I think I'm gonna assume I'm human like
SOS.
everybody.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking, drawing on that last subject, you have such an interesting gift of being able to sing about a sophisticated concept, but you use these key phrases to really intrigue the imagination. And um, body parts is something that you like to sing about, and you use to. I mean, I see it as you're throwing out this fish hook to somebody and saying, "This is gonna get you into this song." And hopefully, I'm gonna pull you in, and hopefully, you're gonna have what it takes to really understand what this song is about. That is, as a songwriter, I know that it's not easy to do that. Um, how hard do you work? I mean, obviously, you just told me, you just expressed to me that you took that song home. You weren't able to come up with anything. You had to come. You had to ask for help. Um, but like a song, like for instance, "These Streets," which is my personal go-to Tanya song that I have to have and I have to listen to at least a few times a month, right? Um, and again, you're using these key phrases to hook the people in, but the concept is so much more heavy than that little flashy thing that you do to get everybody the lure, the fish lure that I call.
Yeah. But you know that well, I started out primarily just singing to a hardcore dancehall audience, and to be honest, that audience has a really short attention span. So if you're not quick with it, then you don't get them. And so even when I started broadening my base, I never lost that. Um, like I say, I'm coming via literature class, so I'm coming with the tenets of storytelling. I want to start with the suspense, and I want to get into, build the suspense some more, and then I have to give you a climax somewhere. And but I can't give you everything at once, so I have to have some more suspense and then another climax. And this is what I do. I try to use the things that I know that will grab their attention.
Mm-hmm.
And for dancehall, it's primarily body parts. Of course, people will make it seem like the dancehall artists are shallow, but they're not. Dancehall artists are supplying by
Geniuses.
demand.
Mm.
So if we notice that, if I come out and I say I would like you guys to come home and help me to build this family, nobody wants to hear that song. And they pretend they want to hear that song, but it's not true. It's a lie. Then nobody wants to hear that song, no matter how nicely you write it, no matter how great the instrumentation. There's somebody out there saying the same thing on another song, sounding better than me, having a better voice, having a technically much broader range, with better instrumentation, a better mix, a better everything, and nobody knows that song. So it's not, I don't take anything that I do for granted, and I don't assume any kind of superiority. I just study people and I treat my job like it's psychology. It's a combination of psychology and literature. That's it.
Mm.
I want to tell you this thing, but if you're not listening, you will never hear. So first, I have to get you to listen, and then I want to tell you this thing.
Wow.
And sometimes the case is that I know if I tell you this thing and I make it too obvious, you're not going to listen. You're going to shut down because you don't want to be instructed. So sometimes I sneak it in. It's subliminal. I put it in the subconscious, and I know that it's not going to bear fruit immediately, but the thought is there, like a seed is there. So when the conversation comes up again, it's familiar to you know. So if gradually I can break it in. I've broken in so many things, and I watch people call me many names, and I just laugh to myself because honestly, I think I'm more in social change than music. So I don't care that you think I'm immoral. I'm just happy that you're no longer saying bowcats should die.
Mm.
And so when the first time when I did Freaky Type, somebody told me I'd have to move away from Jamaica. One artist at the back of Sunsplash told me, some fest asked me if I didn't want to have a career anymore when
What?
I did that song. And then
Wow.
years later, I'm hearing everybody doing songs like that, and I feel proud. And I'm not saying this to own it. I'm not planting a flag.
Right.
I'm just saying this should never have been a thing in the first place. So it's not like I'm claiming. I'm not asking for any kind of props because that's an embarrassing prop to get. That your people are so backwards that you had to drag them out by the scruff of their neck with a song saying, "Hey, people can do what they want in their own bedrooms." You know, when I do a song like "Do You Still Care" and I talk about I position racism against homophobia, and the kind of backlash I got from my fellow black people was just evidence of what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. You know, they make the comparison of racism. They make the comparison of race and sexuality. That's not the one I'm talking about. It's racism and homophobia. So things like these, when I talk about them, I'm not really doing music. For me, I'm trying to create a world I can live in comfortably. I feel free to be whatever I am, and it doesn't matter if I am what I'm singing about. I need to live in a place where everybody's free to be who they are, so I can also be who I am.
Wow.
As long as I'm not encroaching on anybody else's space. That's all I ask. Just don't encroach on mine. I don't encroach on yours, and we live in peace and we build together. That's it. That's all I ever wanted, and I did it. I think I've done it.
You have.
I think I did it.
You have.
You know,
I
I'm
can
not the
be.
only person who's done it,
I can
but I
remember that you you spanned a time in the evolution of woman that we're never gonna see again, right? From the early 2000s to now, we have seen some super high speed change. Well, not just in women, but also in the LGBTQ community, which that I see that you made it part of your revolution, and I know that my girls benefited from it. My son as well. I mean, my son is not a reggae fan. He benefited from the movement, but seeing some of the struggles that we were going through as a family, some of the issues that were being presented to us, and how we as parents were dealing with this rapid change, and we always did not pick the right way to communicate to our children. And I think that artists like you really helped out huge, because you gave them an example of no shame. You gave them an example of, this is my body. I am happy with it. I am a woman. I'm a sophisticated woman, but I am also an unapologetic woman.
Yeah.
Which, boy, these are tools that throughout all of this rapid change that we've seen, and now we see that, gender has pretty much been thrown out the window. I mean, we can all sit there and cry about it. Those of us who are not ready to accept the fact that everybody's kind of moved on, and
Yeah.
there's going to be the stragglers here. Of course, being from the United States, I'm always really careful about what I impose upon other cultures or other people, right? I feel I'm very comfortable with the whole idea that gender is no longer an important part of how you judge a person. It never should have been, but it seems like it's obvious that we move forward, and I really do believe that we have artists like you, Tanya, to thank for what has transpired. And now we have the Cardi B's of the world that are kind of like taking it to a real, what would I say, just sensational sort of level, right? And maybe taking something that you and some other artists created, and now I've kind of like commercialized it a little bit, to the point where maybe some of that substance that you guys are talking about maybe not really interpreted the same way as some of your music, but then maybe you were dealing with the same situation too. You guys aren't really understanding what I'm talking about. Do you think that Cardi B is trying to be responsible like you with some of the messages that she's sending out?
Um, I don't know what her motivations are, but for me, outcome trumps intent. So I don't really need her to have any particular intention. I just need her to be there. Um, and she doesn't have to be the exact same kind of woman that I am. She just needs to be a woman out there, loud, visible, unapologetic, take no prisoners. And that's good enough for me. I need every kind of human to exist. I The thing is, when we think about activism or humanism in activism, we tend to narrow our individual activisms down to whatever our personal preferences are, and that we should stop doing, because we keep, each time we get rid of one ill, we create another one, because we didn't walk in without walls and without boundaries and without boxes and limits. So I walk into every space wide open, and I don't. It's not a kind of wide open that accepts everything as me, but everything doesn't have to be me. I am a part of everything, but I am not everything. So I walk into the space feeling like I want the space to exist. I don't want the space to become me. I don't want only my preferences to be accepted and respected. I want everybody to have the same rights and privileges and freedoms that I have. So it means that everything I've been fighting for is also also represented in Cardi B. And I don't mean that I fought for her. I mean that this is what I represent. The ability for I want us to be able to walk naked on the street and be safe. I want a woman to be able to just walk out on the street with no clothes on, because my perception of her is not influenced by her. It is personal, and we need to learn to take responsibility what goes on in our minds and the actions that stem from them. So it's nothing to do with nakedness. It's nothing to do with the type of expression. It has to do with the interpretation and how we respond to each other. So I want to live in a world where I will not walk naked on the road, but I would like to be able to, because this would mean that if if I have any reaction, it should be somebody thinking, she's gonna get pneumonia, it's snowing, and wrap a coat around me. It shouldn't be, it shouldn't be somebody
Oh, how
looking at me
dare
like an
her.
opportunity. It's I want us to be safe. Like if I saw you walking on the street naked, you'd be safe from me. I wouldn't attack you. And if I was looking at you fully clothed and felt in any way attracted, and then I saw you naked, the attraction would go sit at the back to figure out what's going on with you. If we're in an environment where that is okay, then I would just walk by like it wouldn't be anything to me, because, well, first of all, I really do not place that much emphasis on people's bodies. It's a vessel, it carries you. I'm happy here, so I thank the vessel, but it's the person inside that I actually like and talk to. So that's what I would like us to get to. And if Cardi B takes another route, because we're going to have to take every route, it's kind of like me right now falling out of love with my feminism. And it's like when I was about 10, 11 years old, I lost my religion. And then I'm now 47 and I'm losing feminism, and it hurts because for a long time I've thought of myself as a feminist. But when the closer I work to particular groups, the more I realize that some people have lost their way. And it's no longer about equalizing or, us being one. It's now, it's so skewed that I can't even tell what it's about. Now we're trying to cancel it because we don't agree. Like you said something, I don't have to agree. This is what we fought for many years ago. The right to be. And we've gone so far past the mark that right now I am scared for us. It's so obscure. So I'm happy Cardi B exists. And I get into fights because women tend to, the women who feel like they're doing it right, and they're the epitome of like being a lady, which is a term that we never coined. It was imposed on us, and now we're embracing it, and we use it as a measure against each other. But those women who think they're doing it right usually engage me trying to enlist my help against the likes of Cardi B,
Right.
which is the most hilarious thing because I have more in common with her than them. And it's so weird. It's like, don't, first of all, you put me on a pedestal that I never wanted to be on.
Wow.
I'm on my 2 feet on the ground at all times.
Right.
On the ground. So I don't want to be that person looking at, I can't tell you everything Cardi B does is right. But I don't need to tell you that. I don't need to believe that. And not everything I do is right either. So the fact that I'm having a different rank than she is doesn't make me superior. I'm still fighting for her right. I am still fighting for the right of every woman to simply be, and for every man, and every boy, and every girl. I really prefer the label humanist because it doesn't segregate us in any way. So you don't have to be fighting for black or white. You don't have to be fighting for male or female or child or adult. Just be humanist, and then you will find that you don't have to fight so much.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's really all about love, right? I mean, these drives, this activism that we have, this revolutionary spirit, this thing we get when we get so offended about this or that. When it all comes down to it, we're here on this earth. It all comes back down to humans, right? I mean, I can go to Japan or France or Ghana. They might have nice sites, they might have nice museums, food, whatever. But I always tell people that usually if you don't like a place, it's because you didn't really vibe with the people that were there. I mean, when it all comes down to it, it's not about the pictures that we take back home or the souvenirs. It is about that human experience that we had with a place, yeah?
Yes. And we make family and friends everywhere and get attached. And if you were in the middle of the desert and you had people that you vibe with, you would love it just as much as if you were in the middle of an oasis. As a matter of fact, if you didn't have somebody in the oasis to connect with, you probably just come and drink some water and go back in the, the desert,
Right,
to be with your
exactly,
people.
exactly. You'd be going crazy. You'd leave the water behind. A couple of days later, you'd be going, damn, I probably should have brought some water with me.
Yeah. Or how about we all just move into that water spot?
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh man,
But
I'm
people are
so
cool.
much, so much enjoy. Well, you know what? I have to say that I talked to my daughter Natalie this morning, and all my daughters love you. But Natalie is kind of like they're. Some of them are a little busy doing their thing, their mothers and studying and things like that. Natalie is the only one that's actually home with me nowadays. So she's my little confidant. But I asked her, I said, Mija, that's how we call our daughter in Spanish. Um, just give me a couple of words about Tanya. And this is stuff we've already pretty much gone through. But first off, she just tell Tanya I love her. I love her. And I said, okay,
Oh, God.
I'll make sure she knows that. But she said, she had an impact on me because she's such a powerful woman. And she's so diverse. Her subject matter is everywhere. And of course, she says she just loves your raspy voice, that tone that only can come from Tanya Stephens. Um, and that you teach. You teach on so many topics. And such strong characters, strong woman, unapologetic, strong feminist. That's my daughter Natalie. She wanted me to send those words along to you.
Oh, gosh. Tell her I say thanks. Hug her for me. This is another thing about this weird time. I'm a hugger, so I really love to hug. I hug it out.
I know, me
And
too.
tell her I'm sending like the warmest, biggest, tightest hug. And I love her too.
Ah,
And thanks for that. Thanks for all of that. And it feels nice. Like it feels nice to know that I'm making sense and like I'm, contributing something positive to this discussion that we're having that we call life. So it feels good. It's nice. It kind of lends some more energy to go to keep going. And it feels good, and I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. And I'm also getting old, so now I cry more. I get more emotional.
oh, me too.
So I'm fighting now not to make my eyes fill up with tears because and I have no shame,
Ah,
so I will bawl on you. So but I'm fighting because I can't do that to the people. No blubber, no blubber.
ah. Well, yeah, no, it really is so special. And gosh, I was gonna say something, but I think I think this discussion has just been so perfect, and I know we're gonna be able to have more discussions. But I know what I was gonna say. You have inspired me. You really have. Um, for those of us who are outside of Jamaica, who have to figure out how to tiptoe through some of these issues. Um,
Yeah.
and don't want to be disrespectful or you know uh, patriarchal, I guess the word is saying, coming from the enlightened West, so to speak. So I've had a tough time trying to figure out how I'm going to write music in support of some of these issues that you have
Oh.
been so brave to tackle, and and you're giving me strength. You really are. And of course, we never even really got to talk about the song that we did together.
Yes. By the way, let me just take this opportunity to say that I'm surprised at myself for holding this in so good because man, I am stoked. I really, really, really feel so excited to record with you. And to have us, like it just never seemed like likely, like not something that I could do. I didn't even know how receptive you'd be. I didn't, and I just want to say thanks to Goofy. Keyboard is Goofy,
Yes.
for connecting us. I really am so grateful because he was like, no man, Kino cool, man. Kino cool. I'm like, really?
Give thanks, give thanks. No, well, it
But
was an honor.
it just, I never would have dreamt in my wildest dreams like we'd do something because, I don't, you don't feel like you're within reach. So it's really great to be able to connect. And I really love what we did. I mean, that was a cover, but I can't wait to see what we do when we start from scratch because I feel the energy is nice, by the way.
Yes,
So I feel like we're going to do some, I think we're going to really make some fun stuff.
I'm ready. I am ready. I'm
Yeah.
so ready.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to get to Jamaica next year because it's just been too long, for me.
Yeah.
It's so funny how life goes by so quickly. Um, and next thing you know, it just things happen, and you go, "Oh my God, I haven't been in Jamaica in like."
Yeah.
I mean, it's been probably 15 years, and I'm going, "What the heck?"
What?
But it might
No,
it
we have
might
to
be it
fix
might
that.
be something like 12 years. Yeah,
We need to
life.
fix that.
We need to fix that, and I've already pretty much set aside what I need to fix that. So it's just kind of going, okay, well, when do you think this thing? When is it safe to buy a ticket? What's nice is that the
Yeah,
tickets
that's the thing.
are all interchangeable right now. So you
Yeah.
changing a ticket isn't going to
But
cost.
the thing about it is that I kind of appreciate this, and I have to be very careful how I say this because people will be offended. But I'm not saying I'm happy COVID happened. I'm not. I'm not saying I'm happy we responded in all the ways we did. I'm not. But I think we needed to take a breath. I think as humans we just needed to step back because I'm doing so much inner work right now. I needed to do that. And I
Oh
would never
wow.
do it if I was on the road. If I was just grinding and grinding, I wouldn't do it. I've had so much time at home. I have to look at my life. I look inside of me. I look at my habits and I've been looking at my surroundings, that the way I relate to my friends and the things that I want to do that I never do. And now I'm thinking, what stopped me do? Really? So I'm coming out of this with a different attitude. No, I can promise I will make sure you get here because I don't want another COVID to come around and then we say, oh my God, look how we never do that. You know?
Right.
Like we have to you think of something, and I used to be like this when I was younger. I thought of some if something crossed my mind, I did it quickly before I overthink it.
Yes.
No,
Yes. I'm in that same
but
spirit right now. I really am. I'm saying, you know what, Kino, just go for it, and everything seems to be clicking. For so many years, I mean, it's just been like one. It just seems like you just knock on the door, you knock on the door, and you're just not happy with what you find on the other side. And just these last couple years, I've been saying, Kino, just do what comes to your mind, man.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
the first thing, and you know what I mean, and just see it through. I mean, when you're young, it's hard to see. You get to a point where your projects, I mean, I did reach a point in my life where I started to doubt some of my projects, some of my ideas.
yeah.
And I'm
But
not
that will
sure what
happen though, because the
happened,
business
why
was
that happened, but you know what I mean? But I kind of feel like that little thing is behind me now.
yeah. I think it happens to all of us because when you start out with just that raw energy and just that motivation and inspiration and all of those good things, and but then you hit the business side of it and it becomes less spiritual and more commercial. And I know that people have made the word commercial such a bad thing that we're redefining it, but I'm not working with the new definitions. Commerce is just what we do with our product when we're done with it. I mean, it's a product, and that's fine. Nothing is wrong with that. But sometimes we are forced. If we could just simply relax and do what we do and depend on the people around us to do what they should do without skewing our intentions, then we wouldn't lose sight. But
So
sometimes you
wise.
have to be on top of your business, and we're not supposed to be on top of our business, We're supposed to
So
be
wise.
around the instruments, behind the mic. We're supposed to
Right.
be in the studio creating. That's what we do.
It's
But because we've
so.
been forced to spread thin,
Yes. It's so hard to ask for help, yeah? And I've been
and
doing
then
that.
what do you
That's
get when you ask?
Yeah, well, definitely for sure. I have like my brother that I got right here, Rigo. He and I've been working together for a month now, and it's like, how did I ever survive without him? The Quino.
I need a Rigo. I
Yes,
need a
yes,
Rigo.
yes, 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 yes. Yes, absolutely. You know, it's and as you say, you know, it gets a little harder to stare into the computer screen and try to go, oh, God dang it, what am I doing wrong? What button did I not press? Right?
Yeah.
And but you're right. It certainly is a blessing to have people help you
Yeah.
and make make it so that we can focus on what we are supposed to be doing.
Really good. Yes.
My dear, this has
Yes.
been amazing talking to you. I want to thank you again for this wonderful conversation. You need to have a podcast.
Everybody says that, but I'm not. I'm gonna try.
You know what I mean?
I
I
make it.
I feel like I feel like um, there's just so many people that would really it would help them so much to just hear your voice and just hear you making your way through any daily situation and just you know what I mean. It just I think I think we forget, us artists, that those people that out there that just need a little extra encouragement or just kind of need to see folks like us open ourselves up and say, hey, guess what?
Yeah.
I'm human, man, and I'm just as
Yeah.
scared as you are, but here I am, trying to share whatever I can and
Still,
get through my daily
still
day.
putting one foot forward.
I love your videos, by the way, of your garden and your succulents.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, I'm learning. I'm using things from around me to teach me things like patience. Woodworking is my newest hobby, and
Nice.
trying to keep plants alive. These things help to build. I think they help to build my character. So yeah, I'm having a fun time. Becoming a little old lady. I actually like this. And when I say I'm getting older, mostly women try to tell me not to say it like getting older is an alien concept to them. I don't know, like it's not something that happens to us. That's what we do. We're born, we grow old, and then we leave. And I really am loving this. It's so cool. It's so
Oh,
cool. I have a little bit more. I take my time. I have more patience, and I do more lasting things. So it's very nice.
well, I know you make me. I know you pack so much into your music, and such a proud artist. I hear it. I hear it in your music. I sit there, boy, this woman. She really, she really is proud of her songs, and thank you. I have so much to explore too, because I've only the tip of the iceberg. You know what I mean? And I've been listening hard for the
Don't
last
go
couple
too
of
deep.
months.
Do not go too deep. Tread lightly.
And we will.
Every single mood is in there.
I know, I know, I know. And then I have to pull out. I have to kind of rewind because the patois thing, man. I've been listening to Jamaicans for more than three-quarters of my life, and I still the patois. I'm always rewinding, going, "What did they say?" Anyway, one of these days.
Oh gosh, it's great.
Thanks again for making time, my dear.
My pleasure. You're cool. Thank you.
So fun. So fun to talk to you, and we will keep in touch
Yes,
and keep doing works
yes. Thank you. You too. And hopefully soon we'll link.
for sure. Love you.
All right.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We're live now. This is live. That was recorded interview that I recorded with Tanya Stephens just last Monday, and man, that woman makes me smile. Um, so fun working with her. Just amazing energy and just so talented, man. Just so full of talent. So you guys, I know again we can't play Tanya's music because of restrictions, and I don't want to get more blocked than is already blocked. But please, for those of you who are not aware with her music, I know all reggae fans are, but if somebody happens to be on right now, go right now to Spotify or YouTube or wherever you listen to music and check out Tanya Stephens' catalog. It is immense. It is diverse, and she's just one of those artists that is really propping up our industry, and I just give so much thanks to be her friend. All right, now we move on to a very important part of this whole show. Now, again, we tried to pack a few different elements in this show for you guys to give you something new, a fresh twist on what a show could be, right? Interviews from interesting and impactful people, innovators. We're always trying to find people that are not just reggae artists, but also have a certain twist to give this whole experience more content, more context, I guess you would say. Just allow us to go down a few different avenues that we wouldn't, if we weren't just trying to be some silly little show about music, right? We want to go deeper. So we always will have an interview. We will always have a discussion going on, and we have a great discussion today, man. And you guys are in for a treat. And that's going to happen after this next segment. But a very important segment is the reggae sound system culture that we want to promote, because we feel like reggae sound system culture is the new art in reggae music that is really pushing music today. Our music, right? Our music continues to evolve. And today I got with me my brethren. I've known this brethren for a number of years now. And as soon as we met, man, we hit it off. And it was just the chemistry was there. I give so much thanks every time. And this is the last time my brethren, Sudanese Child, is going to be on here. I should say the next time you're on here, we're going to interview you, because this man has an amazing story that will help so many people. My brethren, the River Nile Crocodile, Sudanese Child, Dynamq Sound. How you feeling, bro?
I'm fine. How you doing, man? Good to see you one more time. How you doing, man?
Ah, blessed, man. Blessed. It was a little stressful this morning getting things going. But now that we're rolling and I got amazing talent like you, then my job is easy.
The Tanya Stephens interview was amazing, man.
I know she is your sister, and after, when I told her, I meant to ask her a question about you in the interview, but when I told her afterwards, and I sent the poster, that's what I sent the poster, she was all, Sudanese Child, that's my brethren,
I love she has the sweetest spirit ever, and she's so real, man. I love her.
Amazing, man. She taught me a lot. I think one of the best things about this show is the people on this show are teaching me, man. You know what I mean? I just after every show, I feel like I've gone through a whole semester of courses. and you are the same way, brother.
We're just learning from each other, man. We're learning from each other.
That's how we're doing it, bro. Well, listen, let's listen to some music. I know the people need to hear some music right about now, and people are about to see one of the best selectors in this emerging, amazing industry. My people, enjoy. Big Mountain Dub Club family, here we are, the Sudanese Child Dynamq Sound, a.k.a. the River Nile Crocodile.
Easy. Yeah, Big Mountain Dub Club, big up yourself. Easy. Quino, my family large. I gotta represent, because I'm from Africa. I have to always make sure the world know that I'm from Africa. So I'm gonna play one of the best emerging artists right now from Africa, goes by the name of Rain God. This brethren right here has a song with Big Mountain. Y'all gotta check it out. This is Rain God from Ghana.
In comes the young warrior from Ghana, Africa. Rain God. Me say onward. Me Dynamq Sounds internal.
Everybody give me the fire emoji right now. Let's go.
Me done Dynamq gunshot. I'm gonna stop to wherever.
Easy.
Them they say I'm useless, but I know say the girl big plan.
Let's go.
The girl now all over from Bazan to Doga.
Sure.
Kill sound on your yeah,
all the way from Ghana.
Spending on your
Let's go.
yeah, on your Dynamq me team blessing for junction. Dynamq me team blessing.
This is Rain God from Ghana. Big Mountain Dub Club.
Team blessing for junction.
Pull up. From Ghana, we're going straight all the way to Jamaica. Voice of the Grammy reggae singer Michael Rose.
Yo, a Dynamq sound.
Big Mountain Dub Club.
Nah.
Quino, big up yourself. I love the dashik. Beat. Sure.
This is the late night step up. Dynamq sound, I used to have the pepper. At this sound, the real data. Any sound, we have the pepper.
Sure.
Easy come and easy flow. Sound boy, yeah. Dynamq International, taking the champion position. Night and day, sound afraid when we play a better champion sound forever. Dynamq sound, kill them all.
Level that. Sound system culture is very important. Just to show you how important it is, reggae music has been produced all across the world, from Mexico to Japan to Costa Rica. Right now, we're gonna go all the way to a place called the US Virgin Islands. This is the voice of Pressure Bus Pipe.
Yo, a Dynamq sound.
Sudanese child, River Nile, crocodile, and then no.
This is the global language, reggae music.
Kingston, you don't know.
Pressure Bus Pipe.
Well, I'm so proud to be from the River Nile, a place of history in the African side, yeah. Ethiopia is like the VI. Nothing can destroy black people worldwide. Well, even though we're just a few square miles, Bermuda is a place with the African style, yeah. A lot of people still going through strife. Jamaica full of African pride. Black people, you're nice. So nice, so nice.
Pull up. Quino, I want you to listen to this one here. I had to fly all the way to Barcelona to voice this one. This is a young artist from Barcelona. His name is Adala. Listen to this.
Big up Adala.
Hey yo, esto es Adala representando la familia de The River Nile. Mi amigo Dynamq, African People Sound. Reggae music in Spain, in Catalonia, Barcelona.
Reggae music from Catalonia, you know.
Yeah. I say Dynamq sound. Play music all over town.
Yes, man.
I say Dynamq sound. Play the plays in Catalan style. It is. Han jugat a la batalla, han destruït el món sencer. I ara què?
Yo!
I ara què? Van fer-se la casa de palla i ara bufa, bufa el vent. I ara què?
Sure.
I és que ells han dividit el cel, posant fronteres i ara aquí ja ningú creu.
Oh, you mean, man, right now, we're gonna go all the way to Bermuda. Voice of the one called Calibuds. Onward, big up yourself. Rain God, brother for life. Sure.
So if you're looking for Dynamq in the party, him the inna the corner. But he no have a drink in him left and on him right and have a spliff of marijuana.
You know.
And when the bassline pin at the tune, Kingston wind up on a data. Yeah. Nolan just survive to the rhythm and later you know what coming after. I tell you what.
Sure.
I don't know about him life one way. All I wanna do every day is yo, we just a smoke, kill fun and love my girl to some reggae. Dynamq, I call it on the phone and them say I'm LinkedIn, I'm girl and I'm ready.
Up from Bermuda, we're gonna go all the way to Trinidad and Tobago. Dub plates only. Voice of the one called Isa Shah.
Dynamq songs, yeah, is the number one.
Trinidad style.
Presenting for the Empress, them. Don't you know Dynamq sound is one if I load. I hear the ladies, them screaming. Come on your name, cause since them got to the one to the lean on. To the picture in them heads, you and them holding on. Love under the cover with some sweet slow song. And then Nelly's girlfriend, baby, and hold your hand. Like the be the wife of Dynamq song. Take your time, settle long, because you are young. They don't like my color, neither
confusion.
Rush into this thing, then things will be wrong, Steve. Don't you know Dynamq sound? It's one if I load. I hear the ladies, them screaming. Play good music all the time.
You know, Tanya Stephens was here, so I cannot come here and dump Tanya Stephens dub. I will be out of my mind. This is my good friend Tanya Stephens. Anywhere you there, you know I love you more than cook food. You know that.
Sound boy, we shoulda never end up in a cash to get a run now.
Tanya Stephens.
Now make charge for murder. What I say, we know of the pity.
Now this is the big bad
Sound
Dynamq
boy,
sound.
we shoulda never
pull up that
in a clash to get a run now. Before Dynamq charge for murder. What I say, we know of no pity.
Chundwa.
Sound a dead in here tonight. Dynamq come for take a few life. We not show them no pity.
Never.
I want to sit. We don't have no pity. Sound a dead in here tonight. Dynamq come for put out them lights.
You know I gotta pay my respect to this family right here. This is the inventor, voice of the one call.
You know what I'm saying? Big Sound Plain. Dynamq Sound is our name. Original to the metal fireball, you know. Invent. Blaze it up now,
yeah. Get your hands in the air, sound boy. When Dynamq play, he will kill your song.
Legendary.
I say yeah. Listen what they say.
Legendary.
Don't they ever say? This is what they say. Yeah. Let's just stick it up, sound boy. You hear what I say now? Get your hands on your head now. You never get no hurt, no. You hear what I say now? It's just what I mean, sound boy. Take out your teeth and sound all day long. When Dynamq play, he will kill your song. I say yeah. Number one sound to play. Yeah. I say yeah now. Number one sound to play one time. Kill the song 2 times, yeah. Kill the song 3 times. Kill the song every time. Sound boy, you're going to die. You're going to die. Dynamq is going to kill you. Dynamq is going to bury.
Pull up. One legend to the next one. Voice of Bob Andy.
Dynamq sound.
Bob Andy.
Soundboy's resistance is getting weaker.
Sure.
And the pressure. It's getting weaker and weaker. Dynamq sound piling on the pressure. He needs nothing to kill a sound. He is the number one. He deserves the right to be the king of all sound. Sound guys knows in such a state.
Dynamq sound just makes them sick.
You know.
Them sound boys try to hate, but Dynamq sound, him don't play those tricks. He needs nothing to kill a sound. He is the number one. He deserves the right to be the king of all sound.
Man, Quino, I'm telling you, man, it's like having dub plates is just gives me a different kind of feel, man. Like
it's national treasures, man. That's national treasures.
Yes, man. And this next song I'm about to play, this is somebody I really want you to actually interview one day. This is Ed Robinson. Ed Robinson is a legend in the dubplate game, in the reggae game. He has a big studio in New York and been recording dubplates since the 90s.
Wow.
I'm gonna make sure I make that connection. He has a lot of insight. And Ed Robinson gave you songs like this. This is like one of the most played dubplate in the game.
Run that Skalang talking. Whoa, 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 na na na. Them little idiot sound that murder them.
Voice of the one called Ed Robinson.
Yeah. How we go? Massive cry Dynamq sound, kill them, clown deaf away. Right now, oh now, we can't listen them drum them no more. No, 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 no way. It's getting rough, way too rough for them.
Way rough.
Sound guy, and knock, knock, knock on them coffin door. Dynamq sound make a son idiot. Knock, knock, knock on them coffin door. Dynamq sound make a sound boy. And knock, knock, knock on them coffin door. Dynamq sound make a sound guy. Knock, knock, knock on them coffin door. Tonight them bound to go in, Lord. Yeah. Knock, knock.
All right, everybody, listen to this part right here, right here, right here, right here.
You see, we won't put our guns no to the ground, Lord. No way. Ready for murder, sound boys, them. Ready for slaughter, ready for butcher them, yeah. You see the long black hearses coming round to pick them up, cause we make a sound boy knock on them coffin door. Dynamq sound make a sound guy. And knock, knock, knock on them coffin door.
I'll play a couple more and then I'm done. Maybe 3 more, right? Right now we're gonna go all the way to UK. And there used to be a reggae band. Well, it's still a band. Natural Heights. They have a song called Picture on the Wall. And you know, we come from a different table. We come from a different school. We appreciate reggae music to the bone. Listen to this.
The African people sound from South Sudan. Sudanese child, the river that crocodile. Volcano.
Everybody look at this.
Prince Zaya.
Everybody look at this.
So big up the River Nile family. Yes, I. Dynamq mash it up again. Some boy free run. Cause Dynamq's come to rule again.
Represent Africa to the fullest.
Some boy. Dynamq has a
now.
Some boy.
Everybody look at the picture on the wall right now.
Yeah. In Dynamq house. There's a picture on the wall, Rastafari sits up on his throne. Oh now, Dynamq sound.
Yeah man, Melovice, big up.
Show them the trophy on your wall. Dynamq sits up on the throne.
Oh, you mean, man? Music.
Oh, yeah. Just sits up on the seat of judgment, yeah. And a Dynamq sound. Gather round him, oh yeah, yeah. He sits upon the seat of justice, yes. Defending Dynamq sound. Sound boy, what you gonna do? Dynamq sound. Show them the trophy on your wall. Dynamq sits up on the throne. Oh now, oh yeah, Dynamq sound. Show them the trophy on your wall. Dynamq sit up on the throne.
You know what? This is gonna be my final song for the moment. You know, I gotta big up my brethren, This is my brother. He gave me the opportunity to play on his radio show every Sunday. You can check me on Jam Rock Radio every Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern. And I'm talking about the legendary Damian Jr. Gong Marley. Yo, this doublet right here is so special to me because this rhythm is actually a rhythm that I built. And speaking of rhythm that I built, look out for that Big Mountain and Dynamq combination coming soon. You see it? Yeah.
Yeah, big
Yes, good
producer.
boy. Greetings to the world voice of the one called Big Gangzilla, Dynamq Sounds International. Big up on yourself. Sudanese child, Volcano, Kingston, and Prince Zion.
Final entry. Kino, thanks for having me, y'all.
Yeah, you know.
Junior Gang.
Yes, Lion Youth. Sound a go dead in a sound clash. The African sound just kill that. 2 ton a dub in a dub box, dub in a the handbag. Knapsack it in a the backpack. With double killer sound pan contact sound. Boy no know this. Them only come around like tourists. On the beat. Yeah, you know.
Pull up that. Big up everybody in the place.
Yes,
let's go.
Sound a go dead in a sound clash. The African sound just kill that. 2 ton a dub in a dub box, dub in a the handbag. The knapsack it in a the backpack. With double killer sound pan contact. So boy no know this. Them only come around like tourists. On the beach with a few club sodas and bedtime stories. And pose like them named Chuck Norris. And don't know the real. Cause sandals are not back to the African with the way him got to. And bouncing twice to shot you. Don't let him spot you unless you carry guns a lot too. A beer tough thing come at you. When Dynamq stop laugh and block off traffic, then we land pop off and start clap it. With the pin fire long and it a beat rapid. Police come in a jeep and them can't stop it. Some say them a playboy rabbit.
Yeah. What's up?
Shot, plenty gunshot, my brethren.
Shots fired.
Oh, man. So nice. Big Mountain
man.
Dub Club got a real treat today, man. So this is the, well, I'm excited, man. I'm excited about this new phase of your life, big producer thing, you know.
Man, it's you know, the older I'm getting, the more I'm realizing I have other calls apart from just pressing play and eject from a CD. You know, I've always wanted to be a producer, man, and big up to yourself for giving me the chance to work with you. You are a legend, man, and Tanya Stephens as well. It's like a family thing, man, and I think to me there's nothing more important than an artist trusting you as a producer. You see, if you just trust me to work on your music, that it brings out the best in me, man.
It's a big step, brother, and it's you know, it's one of those scary things that that once you do it, you know, you get past that sort of that, I guess, that little bit of fear factor, man. You realize that all this shit that you had all along and all this stuff that you were feeling was hip and it was bad, and it was just, you just had to, you know, you just have to get past some of those little mental games, man. But I'm really excited about this track we're doing. Young Revolutionaries. I've always heard it reggae, and I even kind of like, you know, thought in my head, okay, if I ever get around to that. And then when you presented the project to me, it was like, whoa, you know what? What a blessing. And I know you're working with some serious people too.
Let me tell you exactly how you reacted. This is how you reacted.
What the fuck, man? You kidding me? Shit. Oh man, that shit just fucked me up.
Listen. I listen to that every day, and I'm saving that, man. I'm not deleting. that is you see that reaction right is what I was looking for, man. I wanted to just hit you off guard, you know.
I wasn't ready for that, and that was even without the bass line. And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, without the bass line. And like you said, I'm working with some major
legend!"
players, legend like but Flabba Holt has played.
I can't even. I was thinking about it today. Oh my goodness.
And Flabba himself, he's like I said, it's just imagine someone like Flabba saying, "Yes, man, let's work on something." And his catalog is from Gregory Isaacs, Dennis Brown, all this legend, man.
Forget about it, man. Forget about it. I remember the first time I saw Flabba. It would have been Cincinnati in 1990. And he was backing up Charlie Chaplin and somebody else. Charlie Chaplin was touring with somebody else back then, and I can't put my name, but man, and it was in this club called Ripley's there, and that was my first time seeing Roots Radix. No, I'm sorry. That would have been no. I'd already seen Gregory plenty of time by then. For some reason, that show in Cincinnati was was impactful. It was the first time I really said, "Oh my God, Roots Radix, man, this is a legendary."
Were you guys on the show as well, or you guys?
No. I was playing my band Shiloh. This was before Big Mountain.
Oh wow!
I was with the band Shiloh. We were playing on a barge in a river. The Ohio River was right there, and the Kentucky side, there was something going on the Kentucky side that you could gamble on that side, but all the city was right across in Cincinnati. But they would have these barges, and the barges were all filled with clubs and discotheques and big they were built. It looked like Disneyland. These barges looked like Disneyland, waterfalls and slides and pools and all kinds of stuff. It was a trip. And but we would dip into Cincinnati on the weekends at late night and go. There was a good reggae club there.
Hey, before this COVID-19, my plan was to, because we have the Midwest kind of accepting us now. We did Kimani Mali, and it was very successful. And wonderful. I was talking to my partner. I said, "Hey, man, we need to do Kimani Mali and Big Mountain, like a weekend, because what we usually do, we do Nashville, Memphis, and then Kansas City, and then Little Rock.
Nice.
4 shows, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Let's do it.
Man, so next year, definitely for Bob Marley's weekend, definitely want to do that, man.
It's so interesting the way everything is working out right now. The networking is a trip right now in reggae.
Yeah.
Because I just did a project, and then we did an interview last week with Third World. They're on Damien's label.
Yeah.
And we did a Spanish version, and I did the record's already out. It's they're one of the big ones from their last record, Hear Us Out. So they asked us to do a Spanish version of it, and I get my brethren Kike Neda, the original lead singer of Gondwana, and now the big solo Latin or Spanish reggae artist from Chile.
Right. Yeah.
And then so we're vibing. We've been vibing on all of that, and then it's just and then you're tight. And tell us a little bit about Jamrock, and then we got to move on, man. But I want people to kind of sink in that you're working with Damien.
Man, so Jamrock Cruise has been going on for I think 5 to 6 years now, and it's first time on the cruise, and it's reggae for 7 days. You can think about all the reggae artists from Capleton to Sizzla to Buju Banton was on there. But now you get on the cruise from Miami and it goes to Jamaica and then it comes back. But it was sold out in 2 days, and it's so crazy because the cruise had 5,000 plus people on there, man. And there was a clash on there, which is me versus Tony Mataran versus Pink Panther versus Warrior Sound. And they have the whole Jamaican culture on a cruise. jerk chicken, all the Jamaican food, the Jamaican music, and then every night is different sound systems playing, and then they have different stages, and like it's just like a festival experience on a cruise, you know.
Sounds amazing.
And amazing, man. It was so amazing, and I was so honored to be on there. That's when I linked up with Damien, and since then we've been kind of keeping in touch. And I linked up with also Bounty Killer on there.
How did the whole radio thing develop? How did you end up being? And where does is it? What? How do people listen to Jamrock Radio?
Well, yeah, it's called Jamrock Radio, and actually it's a streaming radio for the moment, and it's streaming live on Damian Marley's official YouTube page.
Okay.
So if you go on his YouTube page every Sunday from 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. there's different DJs, but I'm always going on at 5 p.m.
Good to know.
And that's where we debut all the new music. Of course, I'm gonna play the new Big Mountain I just got yesterday in my email. Yeah. So like it's they wanted some like a platform to push their tough production, which is the whole Marley production as well, and play other people music. So they were picking, I guess, the best DJs they could work with, and I just happened to be around them, and they picked me up, and ever since then I've been there like crazy, man. It's good vibes, amazing vibes. You know, we get to debut new songs, and our listeners are from all over, from Japan to Costa Rica to Mexico to Peru, Argentina, all over. You can imagine all the Damian Marley's fans from all over just tuning into the radio show. So that's kind of what's been happening for me.
Oh man, that's great, bro. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great to hear, and it's just a great place to showcase your talent, bro. Because
definitely
that's what that's what you got, man.
Oh, appreciate that. What's so crazy? Even I got a phone call from Damian like one morning at 6 in the morning, and we spoke till the phone died, and he was basically telling me like, "Hey, man, listen, just keep doing what you're doing. We've never seen anything like this. Like a refugee come from the refugee camps to where you are. You're such an inspiration. But always remember, keep it real. You know, don't sell out your culture, because a lot of people are looking up to you. That's why I always try to keep it fully African, and you know, and just work with people that are definitely gonna teach me as well. You know.
So true, bro. So true. And you know what? Third World had amazing things to say about working with Damien. They just loved his style of production. You know, it was like, I mean, imagine producing Third World.
I would like to see Damian Marley and Big Mountain work, man.
You know what? It'll have. You know, I got to tour with Cindy Breakspear for a whole Asian tour back in. It would have been '95 or something like that, and you know, we became, you know, good friends back then, man, and so, you know, so I know where some of that fire comes from, man, because she is an amazing woman and just a beautiful human being.
Can we get a Big Mountain and Third World combination, man?
You're gonna get one. You're gonna get one pretty soon.
I feel like you played me on that Michael Rose and Big Mountain combination. I'm still waiting on that, man. Like, I feel like you really just pushed me to the curb.
Oh man, you know, it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that because there's some serious progress being made. I finally had to hand that project over. You know what? And I know we're going off on tangents, but projects, you're gonna learn. Sometimes you run into a project you can't finish, and you don't know why. And you just gotta say, you gotta find a trusted brethren or sister and say, "Can you make sense of this? Here's the tracks."
Yeah.
And just get me out of the equation because I cannot finish this song for some reason. And that's a perfect example of a producer losing it, right? And that and I'm supposed to be producing that track, and because of my stress of having Michael Rose on the track, it just freaked me out, man. It freaked me out. So, boss, you know, just get ready. This production thing, it's a mind fuck, you know.
I'm looking forward to it. I know it's gonna be a big song. You know, it's gonna be a big song.
My brethren, the Sudanese child. Okay, next time you're here, man, we talk about your story, brethren. I know that's gonna take, but I don't know how we're gonna fit that in 1 hour. But we're gonna give it an attempt. Thank you so much, my brethren, for showcasing your talent on the Big Mountain Dub Club. We are so blessed to have you. Dynamic Sound, Big Mountain Dub Club, right here.
Thank you so much. Much love and blessing, and talk to you soon, bro.
Okay, bro. Respect every time. Blessed love. All right, folks. Boy, how are we doing? Are we all ready for the discussion? Oh, I guess we're gonna do. Oh, yay! Now we're switching over. Okay, we're gonna do one song, one video. So coincidental that my brethren, Sudanese child, played Rain Gad, because now we got a video. We played it last week, but it's a new hot video. This is the man coming out of Ghana right now. Please do your best to share this song. He deserves your support. He is a beautiful human being. He's just an amazing youth and so talented, and he's just getting started. You're going to see this man. Rain Gad, his brand new release. I forget the name of the song. Something about Baby Hold Me or Hold Your Baby, something like that. Enjoy.
We gotta take it easy. You got up in busy time. Ooh, stopping to breathe is not a grind. Yeah, approaching deadlines. See you losing your mind. Oh, you say life is unfair when you watch the other side. Got up in the traffic, envying happy birds that fly. Where true lovers apart, no quality time. Call me on the water, listen to me. Only a baby, make happy. Forget the money is on the way. Yeah, baby, make happy. Forget the money is on the way. Hey, hey, we gotta take it easy. Don't kill yourself to make a living. We're born to be free, my dear, believe me. Love yourself without apology. You will be okay. Ask yourself whose life you're living. Grow the excitement, live in the moment. Fly, cause you're not a bird in a cage. Stop for a while, give thanks for life. Gratefulness gives you happiness. Life is a blessing and not a curse. But carefully thoughts that you put inside your head. Call me on the heart. Listen to me. Only a baby. Make happy. Oh, forget the money. The money is on the way. Yeah, baby. Make happy. Forget the money. The money is on the way. You say life is unfair when you watch the other side. Got up in the traffic, envying happy birds that fly. Where true lovers apart, no quality time. Call me on the water, listen to me. Only a baby, make happy. Forget the money is on the way. Yeah, baby, make happy. Forget the money is on the way. Only a baby, make happy. Oh, forget the money is on the way. Yeah, baby, make happy. Forget the money is on the way. Hey, hey, we gotta take it easy.
Righty. That was the great Rain Gad. We're still hearing some what is it? Some latency there. Welcome everybody Once again, that was Rain Gad. Hold Your Baby. I just love that Afro beat. I can never get enough of that. Now it is time for the discussion. My people, Big Mountain Dub Club. Take over, bro.
Hey, thanks, Quino. Good show today. Nice to see you, Paul.
Yes.
Adriana, thank you so much for agreeing to join us today. It's going to be a fruitful dialogue. Quino, the interview with Tanya Stephens was magical, and it gives us a lot of good food for thought, and hopefully we're able to pick up on that energy, that woman energy that you were describing and talking about with her. I like the term, and let's see what we can do with it, right?
Yeah.
For those of you viewing, welcome once again, Big Mountain Dub Club, Ep.6. The train keeps on rolling. We're doing our best to refine this show, to streamline it, to make it attractive, to make it shareable, to make it educational. For those of you that have been tuning in, this roundtable session, this reasoning moment, it's kind of a wrap up. It's kind of a way for us to kind of chop some things up and put some things into context and put some ideas on the table for future shows as well. For those of you that might just be tuning in, this is very much out of the imagination of Quino and the Big Mountain family. For those of you who have tuned into previous episodes, Quino and I met as activists and organizers. We met as comrades. And so we've always been interested in the intersections and the relationships between the work we're doing as political activists, as organizers, and also the work Quino was doing as an artist and the work I was doing as an educator. And so in some ways, we've been having this conversation now for a few decades. And now that we're getting a little longer in the tooth and grayer in the hair, we wanted to share some of our wisdom with the world, or at least try to. My name is John Marquez. I work in academia. I'm a professor of African American studies and Latinx studies and critical race and ethnic studies at Northwestern University, which is in the Chicago area. And I'm going to be moderating and helping to host, the roundtable or reasoning session today, and potentially also in the future. Brief intros for people that are here with us today. Everybody knows Quino. Quino, thank you so much for providing this space for us. Thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you so much for your art and your wisdom. You're a true leader, and we're fortunate to have this opportunity to collaborate with you. We're joined by Paul Kastick, probably the most famous of us all, drummer, producer extraordinaire, Maxi Priest, Big Mountain, Tanya Stephens, Diana King, Kimani Marley, 809 Band, Montego Bay native, one of my best brethren in the world. Paul Kastick is here with us today. Thank you, Paul.
Yes, sir. Big up.
Last, certainly not least, Dr. Adriana Garriga-Lopez, my dear comrade, a true inspiration to me, just a wonderful person and a brilliant scholar and artist in her own right. She's an associate professor of anthropology and critical race and ethnic studies and gender and sexuality studies at Kalamazoo College in Michigan. Native of Puerto Rico, también, I believe San Juan, correct? Yeah, all right. And so she's going to be with us today to provide us even more perspective and context for thinking about the work and the meaning of artists like Tanya Stephens. So thank you all for joining us, and let's get the ball rolling. So my question for the group is about Tanya and her work. So, she represents an unapologetically feminist intervention within reggae music, the industry in general, but more particularly within dancehall culture. And both dancehall reggae and roots reggae have been critiqued for normalizing rhetoric or a general tone that some have called, and Quino referred to it earlier, as patriarchal, if not also misogynistic, if not also homophobic. So Tanya's work is intriguing for how she replaces what is usually this kind of male protagonist role with the voice and the narrative of a rude girl, right? And it's a unique intervention. She's not the first to do so, but I think the way that she does so and in the moment that she does so is quite compelling. And I think it offers lots of opportunity for us to talk about things that often don't get talked about. So for the group, how do you see the significance of that kind of intervention, not just in Tanya's work, but across the Caribbean? There's a lot of different ways that we can try to unsettle this kind of patriarchal or this patriarchal standard within our political cultures. And Adriana, you're coming from the perspective of Puerto Rico. Paul, native of Montego Bay, Jamaica. Quino and I as Chicanos from the U.S. So how are some ways that we connect Tanya's work to this broader kind of genealogy that I want to shed some light on? Adriana, please.
Yeah, I gotta jump in because I gotta say this has been like a dream morning for me. Like listening to that interview just gave me so much life. Like I thought I was a fan of Tanya before I heard that interview, but then I heard that interview and now I'm obsessed with this woman.
Yeah.
Like, her music was so significant for me in Puerto Rico growing up and listening to Jamaican dancehall, and it had such a big influence on reggaeton. On female reggaeton artists like Ivy Queen and La Sista, and it just made so many connections in terms of like Caribbean, a Caribbean way of being a woman, and sort of whenever that beat hit, it was just like, do you ever realize a woman have mood? And it was hard to understand because you speak Spanish, you're trying to figure out that Jamaican patois, but you can figure that out, and so it was just really significant to hear that music on the on the scene and kind of vibe with it and feel that even we were on different islands, we were kind of experiencing similar things, right? Coming into that music and trying to find a place for a female voice or female experience for the expression of sexuality in a non-commodified way, right? To be able to like embody your pleasure, your enjoyment, and to sort of speak out loud and demand respect. Like, yes, that had such a big influence on women all around the Caribbean, I think.
Well, thanks, Adriana. Paul, I mean, you've been working within Jamaica and within these artists behind the scenes. So, what kind of connections can you make for us?
All right. Well, it's so funny. Every time we pick a topic, it seems like I have a story. So
that's why you're here.
Listen, why you're here. I'm gonna take it all the way back to 1993 when I was at 809. They usually have a show the very next day after Reggae Sunsplash ends. After Sunsplash ends, then that weekend, that Sunday, remember Sunsplash ends the Sunday morning, and that same day, all roads lead to another part of the island, closer to Kingston, where you would have another big, nice stage with a sloping hill. I really can't remember the name of the venue, but 809 was the backing band. And they came and told us right there on the spot that we're going back to this new girl named Tanya Stephens. And that time, she had a minor buzz, if any. But I remember we were on the stage and we were just like picking rhythms. It is color rhythm, and we just roll up. And she came and told somebody to tell us, give me the answer rhythm or give me that rhythm. And we just, boom, and she come on and then, and my girl starts spit. And I was just there behind the drums. I was like watching her build up. I mean, like, who the girl here? I'm like, was this like, and then she just grabbed the people and her lyrics and she would tell us to take it down so you could really hear every word what she was saying. And it was a different type of lyrical content. It was the girl, the woman now being the one talking, like, not say against, but taking shots as the guys had always done over the years. It was always a one-sided affair. And she was just like, and she destroyed the place. And we were all like, yo, a girl there, whosoever she is. And the next thing, that very same song that Quino is talking about. You not ready for this yet? Hey, have you ever stopped? And that came out big in like 96. When that rhythm came out, it was huge. And I remember one day being at the airport, leaving, and somebody pulled up beside me. This is right after we had, this is like 2004, 2005 now, when we had done the Test and Chill record and everybody heard the vibe that we were doing. And I pulled up at the airport and I saw this person and she said, yo, want to link with you, cause I like that acoustic, that guitar-driven style of reggae that me and Rudy was doing with Tessa. And we ended up not moving on that, but a year later, she came to me to form her band. And her band was me, Norris from Third World, and Goofy also at one point, and Taddy P. And we were her backing band for like the first few years and started to put her show together, the medley, the intro, the whole thing. Me and Goofy and Norris sat down and created that whole vibe because she was blowing up now and kind of like really wanted to have her team. Because, you know, what you were subjected to, especially as a female, I would say, especially as female, because I'm going to break up. When Diana had Shy Guy, this is what happened. And it was unfair. Remember when Diana had Shy Guy in 95? That was
Diana King. You're talking about Diana King.
Diana King, yes. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, because she was a female, they felt that they could have her, the woman that has the biggest song in the world, on a festival out in California. And she was the only person that didn't have her own band. Yet she had her band. We were sitting in Jamaica, but every other artist on the bill had their own band. I'm like, this is some bullshit, right? And Diana didn't like the feeling because we had just come off tour. So we were tight, nobody's business. And then they call her for, I think it was Bob Marley Day. And she's the only artist with a top 10 song in America with Shy Guy, the Bad Boy movie soundtrack to support it, gold platinum in Japan. And she had to come and be rehearsed with the day of the show, literally. So I'm just saying that to say Tanya was blowing up and she felt like now was the time she really wanted to have her own team. And she came to me and I ended up saying, all right, me, Taddy P, Norris. When Norris went off with Third World, our Toots, then Goofy came in and then we started that. And no, man, Tanya's stuff has always been exactly what John says. But, and as you said, not like she's the first, but, you know, just like with anything, the time when she came, it just literally became almost like a revolution that you thought that, whoa, this is the first time anybody really coming so outspoken, but not, I don't think so, but she really now became like
she is the perfect person.
Yeah. She became the headstone and the lead and everybody, and I have mad respect for her, no matter how me and her disagree over the years. Tanya is not easy to roll with. We're always going back and forth with her, but love her.
Strong woman there.
Oh, trust me.
So Quino, before I turn this over to you, you know, it's the writing of Tanya that kind of, if you listen to her songs, she tells stories, right? She's very much like an Ice Cube is as a writer. It's always a story of a day in the life, a story of a life, right? And I think that's what, you know, people gravitate towards, that kind of quote. In our field, we call that quoting, kind of day to day, like minute to minute, you know, the way that you experience the life.
Right.
Black woman in Jamaica, Black woman in the ghetto, you know, however you want to experience. So before her, I mean, I think Adriana's correct. We had, you know, Evie Queen, we had other artists. Lady Saw, Diana King, Lady Patra, you know, we had.
But listen to this. One thing with Tanya though, she was more confrontational. Like, whereas everybody in Jamaica sing about freeing the people from Africa, the revolution, the system, Tanya would specifically be calling on her own government with no apologies. And to this day, she will go on Instagram and tell it like it is and name names, which was not the case with all the, you know what I'm saying? Everybody else, you know, over the span of time that I've noticed, I'd always called out the various systems, but she went straight to her own backyard, so to speak. She was dealing with her liberty, the people of Jamaica's liberty, and calling out whosoever was in party, whether it be JLP or PNP, or whoever was in charge of culture, whoever was in charge of entertainment, or who's in charge of finance or whatever. She put it out there straight to them with Shakira.
Yeah, I love that she said.
I was like, sometimes I would be here reading Instagram, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I love that she said that. I love that she said that she considered herself more of an activist, more of like making social change than really an artist. I mean, I was impressed that she said that. She like talked about using stories to connect with people and make them make those connections between their personal experiences and the sort of broader context, the political struggle, the sort of gender issues in society, right? I loved how she answered your question about Cardi B too. She was like, I want to see more expressions of women's creativity and more wildness and more, being naked on the street. Like I love that expression of her positivity, that is like this critique and this welcoming spirit, and at the same time also these stories that are so relatable. Like that song, It's a Pity. That's probably my favorite Tanya song, and I gotta confess, I hear that every so often. I gotta get my dose of that song because I feel like I can connect to the feeling.
So real,
song, it speaks to me in such a way, I love her, and I'm just so enlivened by the conversation.
That's the ultimate Sancho song, right?
It's so true.
I don't know what Sancho is, but I think I'm probably understand what you guys are saying.
Tell him what the Sancho is.
What is the Sancho?
Well, the Sancho's the guy that takes care of your woman when you're not around, man.
Okay. All right.
When you're out on tour.
But it speaks to the question of monogamy, and that monogamy is hard sometimes, and it speaks to that experience of trying to figure out what it means to be in a relationship with somebody and to be attracted to somebody else, and right. I mean, that's a human experience.
Yeah. Well, Adriana and I, we'll in our academic kind of moments, we probably even take it deeper because it's really about gender and gender roles and Western thought and European standards of civility in the family, and then the kind of confining logics of like these roles that we're supposed to play in order to have rights, in order to have legal protections in society. You have to represent a certain code of conduct, a certain code of behavior that's very much rooted in these kind of Victorian standards of gender and sexuality. A man is supposed to be this way, a woman's supposed to be this way, and there's supposed to be this kind of eternal monogamy between them. And sometimes life is a little bit more complicated than that, and I think storytellers like Tanya help release some of that pressure that we feel to uphold those standards, right? Kino, I wanted to turn it to you real quick. One of the things I was thinking about is your long career as a roots reggae artist, as a pop artist as well, and within the reggae music industry, reggae music standards, like the bass player is usually like the kind of most masculine, representation in a reggae band. It's the bass line. Who hold on the bass? And Big Mountain's, foundational bass player was a black woman.
Yeah.
I mean, Liv Copeland. When I first saw you guys on screen, like video, I think it was a video or something that you all did, and I was like, wow, their bass player is a black woman. That's just the symbolism of that created an intervention, at least for me, in terms of thinking about music.
It did, John. You're so right. I remember before I had anything to do with Big Mountain, anybody I was talking to and Big Mountain came up, the first two things was the white Rasta and the black female bass player. That's it. That was it. It wasn't about the drummer. It wasn't about the keyboard player. It wasn't about the guitar. No, what stood out to them was two guys with Rasta, which was like, okay, all right, these guys singing reggae. And then, as you said, John, the bass is the bass is like, you think of the bass in reggae, you're expecting Family Man, you're expecting the guys who look a certain way.
Robbie
like
Shakespeare.
M16. And then when Big Mountain came, there was this whole different type of, the stage was so big, so much stuff going on. And then you had this female bass player just standing and holding it. It was a topic of conversation a lot when Big Mountain just came. And when I saw Big Mountain the first time, 93 in Detroit, we were on tour with Lollapalooza, and we had a day off, and we came. because I knew Zola, of course, and everything. And we came and I remember watching you guys. I was like, how them youth here? I was like, you mean like, just,
you know, I grew up with a lot of very strong female examples, and now when I sit there and think about it, you know, I mean, maybe it's just a consequence of life that the men in our lives are so distant, right? I mean, it's just like I want to break that chain in my world, but it's not easy because there's something about being a father, being the male role model that it can create a lot of psychological blocks, you know. Yeah, as far as the women the people that made an impact in my life, absolutely no doubt about it. My mom, my aunt, my grandmothers, you know. So the whole idea of having a woman take an important role like that might be traditionally held by men never was a problem for me.
Let's put this into context. I'm gonna pass it to Adriana because I think she's the real expert in terms of this being within her field. But how much of that? I mean, what you're describing is an emotional depth, right? That mujeres, women in your family had an emotional depth that allowed you to think of yourself as also having that range of emotions available to you as a young person. But something about life happens to where manhood decreases that emotional depth somehow. And especially in the United States. And this is really about the way that race and colonialism function, specifically in the ways that men of color, black and brown men in the US, and Paul, you might speak to the Jamaican experience in a similar way, but that in order to survive the day-to-day kind of criminalization and like denigration, and this is not to say that women of color don't experience this as well, but like the criminalization of black and brown males in particular, in order to psychologically survive that, you have to become dread. You have to become, you have to
become a robot, basically.
There's a certain coldness. You have to become cold. I mean, in hip hop, we celebrate coldness. Like we try to out cold one another. We try to we try to see who's the least emotional of people. And it's usually a betrayal of what our home spaces are usually like, which is a deeper emotional range that's usually provided to us by women, right? And so there's something about race and colonialism that distorts our emotional range and that disallows us from being able to, express freedom in the ways that I think Tanya did quite eloquently in talking about, I want the freedom to be able to be butt naked on the street.
Yeah.
And it not matter because you being so doesn't matter to me, right? And that's a certain liberation from a certain set of expectations that I think colonialism denies, right? Adriana, am I onto something here?
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of James Baldwin's argument in a piece that he published in Playboy, in the magazine Playboy back in 1984. He wrote, James Baldwin is a Black gay American writer, and he wrote this piece about U.S. American masculinity, in which he argued that the militarism and white supremacist aspect of U.S. culture required men to remain as boys and never allowed men to fully develop into an emotional maturity. And it required that kind of reduction of the range of emotion that men are allowed or encouraged socially to express. So you can only be like, a hard ass, or I don't know what the other you'll tell me what the other kind of ranges are that men are encouraged to occupy, but certainly emotionality and depth and caring are not encouraged and are seen as female characteristics. And so, it's important to think about where that comes from and whose purpose that is serving and who that is keeping us from being able to connect with in ways that might, as you said, right, like liberate us too. It's not just about liberating women. When we talk about feminism, it's not just about liberating women. It's about liberating everybody from those kinds of things that impose limitations on our humanity, because as human beings, we all have feelings, right? We all have our hard ass moments too. Like I definitely have those. So, there's a range of emotion that we should all be able to live through and learn from, and enrich other people's experiences through as well. And sexist ideologies reproduce that, and the work of artists and intellectual, organic intellectuals, especially like somebody like Tanya, really make a difference in how people are able to sort of learn to do things differently, right? Like learn new ways of being themselves in a way. Right?
So important.
More
So important.
Themselves.
Paul, I want to turn this over to you real quick, but a quick caveat. I mean, it's listening to what you're saying, Adriana, it really brings into focus the concept or a focus on what constitutes revolution. Big Mountain has a song, and in the chorus you saying, who is the real revolutionary? I'm calling you out. But sometimes I think we got to ask the question of, well, what is real revolution, right? Adriana is speaking, and Tanya was speaking, and I think we're all trying to speak in the language of healing, in a way, overcoming colonial trauma and making ourselves emotionally rangeful again. And is that the shit system denies us, right? That Babylon denies us. But is that revolution? I mean, if the system doesn't change, right? If the system doesn't change, if the structural arrangement of power, the militarism, the police, law enforcement, criminal justice juggernaut, however you want to describe it, if that doesn't change, then how much are we actually capable of healing in these kind of micro bubbles outside of society? Like, constitutes revolution? Do you got to take on the system and be willing to bang on that shit, or do you try to, as Isepi said, Kino, walk away from Babylon?
Walk away. You gotta turn your back on Babylon. You just gotta walk away, and it'll fall.
Well, Bob, I mean, in one song, Bob Marley did say, "He who fights and runs away lives to fight again another day." So it's kind of like we have to know. I guess sometimes you have to make a choice at when to strike or how far to go, and we could just all be just suicidal, you know what I mean? And just say, fuck it, let's all destroy it, tear it all down, and risk everything, even our kids, everybody, just whatever, and
That's a good point, Paul. I've been thinking mostly about the youth nowadays. I mean, we've been seeing all these uprisings in our cities, youth being willing to put themselves at risk and create.
It's getting serious.
Yeah.
It's getting real serious out there. And I hate to cut you off, but
no, please do.
Hanging out with my boy a couple days. It's like he is preparing himself for some sort. Jacob.
Oh, Jacob.
Okay. I mean, there is a feeling, and there's a feeling in the streets that there is a conflict in the future, and I was caught a little off guard and a little shocked by the seriousness of what he feels, right now. But getting back to this idea of revolution and what exactly is revolution, and how it applies to, for instance, Tanya. I was a witness to revolution with my girls, right? I was a witness to seeing them use Tanya's message in a constructive way to deal with some things that their parents at the time were not really ready to be able to express, or really to explain, or really to help. You know what I mean? It was like I think there was some conflicts going on with me, and I was having a little trouble deciding how much interventionist I should be at a time when, my girls really needed me to give them a solid example. And, we're talking about the early 2000s, and all of this change was going on with gender roles and sexuality and things like that. And I was very, comfortable with where I stood, but I was still having trouble finding the words to back that up. You know what I mean? And as a result, I think art like Tanya's And I saw it with my own eyes because they were playing the records, and it was during a time when there was a lot of growth going on, but they were on their own in certain ways, and that music made a difference.
Yeah,
Adriana, did you have some?
it's lovely to hear that, Joaquin. And I wanted to say also that in Puerto Rico, like the youth and women's groups, feminist groups, have made have been a big part of the large protests that we've seen in recent times, and that removed the then governor Ricardo Rosselló last summer, in summer 2019. That was a movement that was led by the youth and by women, by Black women, specifically Black Puerto Rican women, really taking center stage, and being leaders in the community, as well as trans women and queer women of all sorts, right? We saw, and queer people of all sorts. So it was really amazing in the present moment. As complicated as everything is, it's also really inspiring to see how these things are coming together, because we used to think about revolution as something that didn't have anything to do with all that, right? But it's nice to see now how there's a new articulation of these feminist discourses, women of color, Black feminism, queer feminism, really coming together and pushing forth in this incredibly tense political moment, and insisting that this is like really central to what we mean by revolution, like that any change, any like large scale change in society has to include the opening of space for people to be their full human selves, right?
Yeah.
And especially since right now we're dealing with, what is really supposed to implement positive change in our society, things like democracy, or at least the American style of democracy that is so similar to so many systems around, is showing to be completely inept, right? I mean, we have to get out of this cycle that we depend on elections, and I'm not sure exactly how that's going to happen, but I think people like us are starting to realize that it's just not going to happen at the ballot box, man. We have to find ways to work outside of that structure.
So, Quino and Adriana, essentially what I'm hearing you say is that to have the wherewithal to think and act beyond formal politics, because formal politics has failed us, right? To have the wherewithal to act outside of formal politics, which is elections, which is kind of casual liberal reform, et cetera, one has to have a strong sense of who they are in the world, right? One has to have gone through the healing, Quino, that you speak about with your daughters in the house or in their community, to be able to kind of say, this is who I am. And I don't give a fuck what the world thinks, because I understand where my trauma comes from. And it wasn't my daddy's fault, and it wasn't mama's fault. It's not my culture's fault. It's not my community's fault. It's the system's fault that I have this trauma. And I'm recapturing, I'm reclaiming my emotional depth as a human, similar to what you said, Adriana. And now that I've undergone that transformation, that's that blossoming, now I'm ready to bang on the system. And I think what we saw in Puerto Rico, Adriana sharing that, and what we're seeing in our streets now, we might be seeing that happen now. Paul, were you going to say something? I'm sorry.
I was just saying, what you were saying, I said, basically you're saying, like the Michael Jackson sound, and as Quino said, you're starting with the man in the mirror. So you're changing you first, and then basically your household, your roots, before you can even step outside and try to affect everything else. So I'm just listening to what Quino was saying and what Adriana, and then when you started, I said, okay, so basically what Quino is saying, that you had to reevaluate you. You had to look in the mirror and figure out what you were, who you were, what you wanted to be, and then so use that to assist your girls. And then from that, going out in the outside world now, as you said now, John, to try to affect the system. But with still all of that, we're still on the parameters of the system. And changing all of that, that's all the question signs that I, as a Jamaican, who every night I'm camping out, watching CNN, watching Fox, and I'm like, Jesus, because
I think we almost
happens over there is eventually comes across now and affects the little Caribbean territories like the Jamaicas, the Cayman Islands, the Anguillas, the this and that. So we're kind of like almost at the mercy, so to speak. Because remember, for us to do certain things, we have to step up at the U.S. Embassy to get that stamp in our passport to allow us to be able to jump on a plane to go look for our liberty to feed our families, like musicians.
But what I think what we talked about last week, or was it the week before, applies a lot to this right now, right? Because we have to assume that the system's already fallen, man. I mean, we have to assume that we have to work thinking like the shit's already fallen, because we have been here before. We have worked like that. We did in the 60s and the 70s, right? But we just have to be careful this time that our leaders don't all get thrown in jail, or, you know, I'm talking about the Black Panthers and these social struggles and movements that were going on before that did assume that the system did not exist. So it's not like we have to reinvent this idea of us working outside, because, you know, we have to always look inside, Paul, but we also have to understand that what we're doing, looking inside, is not necessarily trying to prepare us for anything. What it's trying to do, we're just trying to shed the baggage that society has put upon us, that has kept us from being like what John says, man, just somebody that has the courage, right? I mean, Tanya Stephens gives us courage. She gives me courage. I'm a 54-year-old man, and I listen to this woman, and it's like, whoa, you know what? I mean, I start to think that, shoot, I really need to start implementing some of her attitude and some of her, you know, it's like, and I think that, you know, maybe I'm a generation older, you know, than Tanya, but I realize, God, how, you know, now when I go back and I listen to her music, I sit there and go, what the fuck was I doing back then? What was I listening to, you know? I mean, I know that we're all bombarded with media, right?
Yeah, but, you know.
But my girls were listening to it, and it was all there, but I was teaching high school at the time, so I was going crazy doing my own thing. But those people are out there. Those message givers are out there, and I guess that's what we're trying to do here, right? It's make sense of that.
Adriana, you were going to get on this.
I just wanted to say, Paul, I feel you though. Like there are those times where you want to just burn everything down and just say fuck it all. I mean, I think I felt that several times last summer, where it was like, well, if we got to burn this whole shit down, then we burn it down. The old
that's what we see playing out now. That's
right, but that obviously. And so if that happens, we feel that, like, that's part of our experience. That's part of our expression too, that has its limitations too. Then you ask yourself, like, how can I build? You know, if I destroy, it's okay. Part of it is destruction, but part of it is also building. So how do I build something new? How do I create, you know, what do I use to create a new world out of, you know? So that's that. I agree that we got to act like this shit is already fallen down and sort of continue to build the alternative world that we want to live in. But I share your frustration, Paul. What happened last summer in Puerto Rico was really important and significant, and yet we're still under the same colonial system. We're still under the same political, you know, bullshit that we were in last year. And so nothing has really changed, except that we took one governor down and then another one came and took his place and continued doing the same thing. So I understand that frustration, and I don't think that doing the internal work is and doing the feminist work and doing the queer work and liberating our minds, I don't think that is contradictory. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, there's ways that we can channel all those different energies, the destructive ones that I think are just as necessary as the creative ones. You know, there's definitely things that need to be destroyed. You know, the system of white supremacy and racism that was born out of colonialism, out of slavery that affects not just the Caribbean, but the United States and frankly, the world over. That is something that needs to be destroyed. You know, how we're going to do that, like, how do we destroy that? Then that's a bigger question. You know, it's complicated, right? How do we destroy patriarchy? Well, you know, you can't do it all at once. It's a process. So, you know, part of that process is, you know, destroying things, and part of it is creating new things, you know?
A lot of it has to do with how we conceptualize food. Mm-hmm. From what I hear from Adriana, and I heard some of this in you, Paul, and in you, Quino, is this statement that, you know, the conditions of life that we experience now are already rotten. They've already rotted on their own. Ya están podrido, right? It's like, do the work of making the shit rotten. It's rotten. And people are understanding that, especially youth. The concept of freedom, then, therefore, like, where do we draw from historically to rethink freedom? And what it essentially means is, like, we have to think from the position of the unfree. And when you're unfree, and this comes from the Black radical tradition, and maybe we can appropriate some of that in these kind of conversations about solidarity and the broader significance of a Black radical tradition, or maybe we shouldn't. But nonetheless, there is something instructional and provocative there. Freedom is best understood from those who are truly unfree and know it. Right? Slavery created that condition. Slavery created that circumstance. And what did people do in the Caribbean first to deal with being unfree? Is run away. But they didn't just also run away. They also revolted in the process. It's not just about running to the hills, but it's about burning some shit down along the way to convey a message.
Right,
and what
right,
constitutes is, like, there's no freedom in the hills necessarily. The Maroon colony, Adriana, what you mentioned is like building a new society. That's not necessarily arriving at freedom, right? Continuously rebuilding and refining that community is a process of getting free. Freedom is not the place you arrive at. Freedom is not something you petition for. Freedom is a way of life. Yeah, it's a practice. Freedom is how you live.
Yeah, man.
And you can't be emotionally restricted and caught up in your anger and live a free life.
I have to say, Jamaican culture and Jamaican people have been very strong carriers of that message for the world over. Very strong.
Yeah. So John, so well put. Go ahead, Paul.
And this is when I hear John just give that just this little piece a while ago, is why I'm still angry with him that he did not go on Fox. I still have problems with it because every week this guy just makes a lot of explanations, just opens me up more, and then I'm get annoyed right at the end of it. And I'm like, this is the thing here. You have that platform. You can't not take the opportunity to just go say it and just do it. And I'm just
we're saying it and
I know.
We're doing it on our own.
Yes, but still, you still remember.
We got 17 viewers right now, man. Thank you.
Yeah, on a festival, John.
Thank you for watching this.
You have the talent stage, which is where we are, and you have the main stage. And what I'm saying is that I had wanted to see you on the main stage, like I did Rage of the Machine back in 1993. What he was saying, he was on the main stage, and Remuta Baruka was on the small stage, and that, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's different genres, it's different mediums. You know, Adriana's a better public intellectual than me. I mean, she's got a certain knack, she's got a certain way of speaking and a certain way of representing that.
I agree.
That lends itself more towards that. Thank you, Quino. But we got to pick and choose, right? It's like we can have conversations in this medium that we're making on our own that I think are actually more vibrant. And we had, like yesterday with the Breonna Taylor case, maybe if we have some time, we could talk about that. I got 15 invitations by different television networks to appear to speak about the Breonna Taylor case. You know, and I'm at home, I'm trying to guide 3 children through e-learning. I'm trying to deal with the racism of my industry. I'm trying to deal with Babylon and my family and all this. And I just wasn't emotionally available to speak about the Breonna Taylor case.
Wow. But you had time for the Dub Club. John, thank you.
And at the same time, he has. And at the same time, he has.
It's just because I know that this is where people got my back, and there's not a certain policing, there's not a surveillance and a set of expectations, right? In the climate, you go on Fox News one day, you're dealing with 100 hate mails the next morning from white supremacist organizations.
Yeah.
Like, how do I deal with?
Hold on, John, you're dealing with Breitbart the next day. Breitbart.
Yeah, and I have a right to get free from that shit. If that creates harm for me, I have a right to just refuse it and say no. I'd rather talk to Adriana. I'd rather talk to you, Paul.
See.
And then
I'd rather not see you.
Well, getting back to the definition that John was making about the definition of freedom, then that's why art is free, right? Art is freedom. I mean, it's like, that's why we could be enslaved, we could be jailed, but as long as we're able to speak, as long as we have a voice, as long as we can say something, that's freedom. That is sometimes the only freedom that we can really be proud about, or really.
It's true. We should. I mean, Adriana, I want to hear a little bit more about your role as an artist, like the stuff that you've done as a visual artist and as a performance artist.
Yeah, Adriana, because I don't know that. I want to hear about that.
Before that, just real briefly, sentence, Quino. The first slave revolts in the Caribbean, the first maroon colonies, were set up by Africans who had the Quran memorized.
Really?
And also, the first slave revolt, it was in Puerto Rico, in case you didn't know.
So some of those first acts of revolt, of burning down the plantation, came from people who had the Quran memorized. And you could not incarcerate the Quran. You could not deny them the book because it lived within them. And as long as they could breathe air, they were moved by the message of the Quran to get free.
Hey, wow. Okay.
Adriana, please.
Yeah, no, I was struck by your talking about the freedom, and the understanding of freedom can only come from people who are, unfree. And so we could also ask, what is unfreedom? And there's so many forms of unfreedom in Babylon and in the United States and the world today. So we could also talk a long time about what it means to be unfree and where exactly that wisdom sits, because it sits in a lot of places with a lot of different people who experience a lot of different kinds of unfreedom, right? But in my experience as a colonized country, Puerto Ricans know a lot about what it means to be free, even though they live in unfreedom, or we live in unfreedom. We also have some deep knowledge about what it means to struggle, what it means to support each other, and to support each other to survive, especially, in the recent years when the sort of colonial violence has gotten more and more intense against people on the islands and in Puerto Rico. We really had to relearn what it means to live freely, which means to be self-determined, which means to be there for each other, because you can't really be free by yourself. Like, freedom is not an individual situation. Freedom is always a collective situation, and that means that we all have to be working towards liberation together, And so that's, I think that's a practice of freedom. Like, we have a practice of freedom that we're a part of, even though we're a colonized nation. And people in Puerto Rico will talk about that and talk about what it means to them to be free. So I grew up in that, and that's what drives all my work. That's, I was talking to some students yesterday. I was telling them there's nothing that I do as an academic, not a paper I publish, not a class I teach, not a conference I give, that doesn't in some way, intend to contribute to the liberation of my people and to the decolonization of Puerto Rico. Everything I do is motivated by that goal and that ideal. And I mean with all my heart. And then that includes my art too. My art is a little bit where, the more kinky side of me, the more like crazy non-academic side of me comes out, the kind of things that, you got to kind of keep in the closet for a while. And after I got tenure, I got a little bit more free with it. And I started publishing some poems and some performance pieces. And I'm hoping to develop that more. But I have one piece that recently came out that's called Revenge Fantasy, and it's a kinky revenge fantasy where a Puerto Rican dominatrix beats. I mean, it's a performance art, okay? So it's kind of kinky, like I said, but sort of whips this white woman with a blonde wig and a Confederate flag. So I played the role of the dominatrix in that and stuff. So it's it's kind of edgy stuff, and I kind of keep it under wraps most of the time. But John found out about it, and so now he wants to hear more about it. But I publish poetry, and I try to keep that creative side of me alive. I also sing, although I sing like opera kind of stuff, and yeah. But dancehall is always a part of my life. Dancehall is always in my spirit, always in my heart. Always listening to those classic tunes that I grew up with, and it just there's nothing that gets me more in a lively mood, like in the mood to dance and rejoice in my being than listening to dancehall. It's really my favorite.
Okay, so who are your artists? Who are some of the dancehall artists that
you mean aside from Tanya?
yeah. Aside from Tanya, like who else would you like say? Oh, right now on your iTunes, you got this on your thing. Who are you listening to?
Well, I grew up listening to the classics. So I grew up with Beanie Man.
Okay, all right.
Then later on it was the Sean Paul songs were very popular in Puerto Rico. Yeah, so there was definitely a lot of influence there. Then I got into the more newer stuff like Collie Buds, and then it kind of took a hard turn and went into the Afro beat and the kind of stuff that the DJ was talking about earlier. Like that's my jam now. That's what I like to listen to now. To be honest, like you look at on my Spotify, it's all like WizKid. What's the name of the other dude? I can't remember right now. I've been listening to a lot of stuff out of Ghana.
Okay.
Gosh,
really enjoying
the new Nigerian, Nigerian Wonder Man. What's the name? I forget. I can't. Fela's nephew. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but I grew up with the classics, with Late Dawn, with Tanya.
Well, what do you think about? I guess this isn't dancehall, but Samba the Great. Do you listen to her?
Don't know. Sorry.
Check her out. Samba
Okay,
the Great. My son and his girlfriend Nikki, they listen to her, but she's more hip hop. She's more African hip hop. I think she's South African. Oh yeah, man.
Check it out.
Well, didn't you have to do something with the launching of Sean Paul's career or something like that, or you knew him before?
Yeah. I mean, Sean. We go way back before anybody ever knew that there was gonna be a Sean Paul. So we attacked from the ground up. Me and Rupert, but Rupert was producing Sean. I was producing him, had some track with him. I'd heard him, and I was like, he's actually one of his first songs he was on a track with Carrot Jarrett.
Oh, wow.
Carrot Jarrett, that from Third World, was doing a Bob Marley song. And that's how I met Sean the first time, because Rupert Bent was producing him. And when I heard him, I said, yo, I like how this youth sound, And I had a track and invited him over. I was working with him for months, trying to get him to stay on key. It was hard those days. And then, it is, after a while, went on tour, next thing, started
I got another question for you. Aren't you the person responsible for teaching Sean Paul how to dance?
All right.
You know who else used to come to Puerto Rico all the time was Shaggy. Shaggy used to come through Puerto Rico all the time, do shows.
So you probably saw Paul. Paul was Shaggy's drummer.
Probably.
Back in 98 to 96 to 99. Yeah.
Oh, so you came through. Yeah. So the Shaggy was definitely a big part of that sort of interaction between Jamaica and Puerto Rico. For sure.
The big Shaggy man.
You didn't answer my question, Paul. Did you or did you not teach him how to dance? I think those are your moves.
I had nothing to do with that part of the business. No. But his choreographer is a good friend of mine.
Oh, there you go.
Paul,
but,
Paul taught me how to dance, though.
All right, I died trying.
How about this one, Paul?
Yeah. How was it? Fuck. Paul used to, after every gig, he'd come up to me and go, "What's this, man? What's this, boss? What's this thing you do? You know, what's this thing?"
Yes, guys.
This has been beautiful, man. You know what? I am so happy right now because I know we got some good shit in this conversation, and I know it's gonna help a lot of people out.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? It's just that's so gratifying. Sometimes music and the business of it keep you from really feeling proud of your work. And I'll tell you what, the Dub Club is just, it feels so good to have control over things. We've been trying to keep the show short, but we finally just gave up on that and said, man,
we don't have to try too hard, man, because we don't have to try that, because that's one of the things that the system brings also.
Right.
This idea that we have to cut this shit. Oh, we got time on. Yeah, but this is ours. This is ours. And if it's flowing free, it's flowing free. And the information is food. It's food. You know what I mean?
And finally, we have a sister here.
Yeah, man.
Oh, she's one of the
Adriana, it's so beautiful. So beautiful to have you here.
Adriana is going to be here next time. I really want to ask you stuff about Puerto Rico. When you say you're free, I really have some questions I want to know. I really want to know what you want for Puerto Rico. Because me as a Jamaican, we know that Puerto Rico is a part of whatever.
Do we have time?
Puerto Rico is something, right? We're not sure what it is, but it is something.
I want to understand.
That must be the most frustrating thing, right? It's like, okay, what exactly are we?
Yeah, and what is it that actually you want for Puerto Rico? Because there's gonna be repercussions based off of what you're gonna say you want, because you know nobody loves to punish people. Your system, they love to make you know that if you're not rolling with us, then
you're against us, right?
We're taking this from you. We're taking that from you. You can't. You're gonna hear about all this shit.
Do we have time, Quino?
Yes. Go on, man. Go on, Adriana. It's all yours.
Thank you. This is something I could talk about till the cows come home, as the Americans say. You know, the first time I went to Jamaica, I had this moment where I stepped into Jamaica and I started crying. I became kind of overwhelmed, because it was really my first experience of being in a free Caribbean country that was black. That was a black country, a black republic. And I felt so inspired by that. It was so different from my experience in Puerto Rico. And, you know, I just so moved by the Jamaican spirit and the kind of strength of character. Of course, sometimes they're a little rough on tourists, but that's okay. I respect that. 'Cause I'm from a place where we're kind of rough on tourists sometimes. So, you know, I get that. So, but anyway, I admire that greatly. So I have great admiration for Jamaican freedom philosophies, for Rasta culture, for, you know, Jamaican feminists. And I big up that all the time. But for me, I want Puerto Rico to be free. I want Puerto Rico to be an independent country, or even better, to be part of a Caribbean federation. So I think that Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and all the smaller Antilles should be together in a federation of islands, and that we should work together to, you know, to liberate our people, to feed everybody, to house everybody, to keep everybody safe with the climate change, and to really be able to respond to the challenges that we as a region are facing. Because, you know, sea level rise is not just going to affect Puerto Rico, not just going to affect Jamaica. And like you were saying, you know, like the United States is not going to look out for Puerto Rico. They're not going to do anything to mitigate, you know, the things that are going to be implied by the climate changes that we're observing. So I think if we want to take care of our people, we're going to have to do that for ourselves. And that means we have to free ourselves somehow. We have to find a way to get rid of the colonial power that is dominating us, because we cannot make decisions that are the best for our people right now. We don't have the sovereignty. We don't have the freedom to do that. So we are under the colonial yoke of the United States. And until we are, Puerto Rico has never been independent, you know, not since Christopher Columbus arrived in 1492, 1493 in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has been a colony. So it's a long time, and it's high time for Puerto Rico to be free. And I gladly dedicate my life to that goal. And maybe I won't see it within my lifetime. I'm 42, so I love what Tanya said about age too. Is she was like, I don't know, people tell me to be not to say my age, and I'm like her. I say my age proudly. So I've survived to 42, and I intend to keep on living. So, and I hope to live to see my country be, Puerto Rico be free. But even better than being independent as a republic would be to be working together with our brethren and our sistren around the Caribbean to really be, we could do a lot more together than we can as individual islands, right? So that's what I would love to see. That's what I work towards, is that vision of a kind of Caribbean federation, which has a long tradition, a long philosophical tradition, Betances and many other thinkers, Jose Marti, many other folks who have thought about what that could look like. And I think it's up to us to make it a reality.
So interesting. Wow. The Caribbean is so distinct, right? I mean, it's such a powerhouse of art and culture. I mean, you think about Puerto Rico, Jamaica, and Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic. I mean, I know I could go on and on, but just those like 5-6 examples when you talk about what they've contributed to the world, and now. Do you think that there is a Caribbean culture that doesn't take into language into account? Is there something going on between Jamaica and Cuba and Haiti and Puerto Rico that doesn't involve the colonial powers that were there before?
That's a hard question, because of course we don't know what it is to be without those people, pressuring down on our societies and try to limit the scope of possibility of what might be possible for us. Like after Hurricane Maria, Cuba tried to send doctors to Puerto Rico, and the United States refused to let them come in because they control the borders. And likewise, Venezuela sent a ship with 10,000 meals that were ready to eat, and people were going hungry, and the United States did not allow that ship to land in Puerto Rico, to dock in Puerto Rico. So that's what I'm talking about. Is like really concrete examples where people are trying to help each other, try to create solidarity and community, and that not being possible because of the imperialist domination. So I do think that there are things that unite us, like music is the big thing that unites us, reggae music, dancehall music, reggaeton. I'm sorry, I know not everybody likes reggaeton, but there's a lot of people that listen to reggaeton. And I wanted to say, if you talk to reggaeton artists or you listen to reggaeton artists, they recognize the influence of Jamaica and of dancehall.
Of course, that's where the beat came from. That's where the beat
people try to say reggaeton artists are appropriating dancehall, and that's just not. That's historically incorrect. Reggaeton and dancehall like co-evolved, but reggaeton definitely did draw a lot from dancehall. So salsa music, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, merengue music, like all of those are Afro-Caribbean genres, that our people listen to. Sorry, go ahead, Quino.
So interesting. Well, I mean, just recently, it's funny because that controversy, and I don't know how much we want to continue on this road, because this is not necessarily what we're talking about. But I always considered El General to be the first reggaeton artist. When I went to Central America, I picked up like a bunch of mixtapes, and I brought them back. El General, yeah. And it makes sense because there was such a large influx of Jamaican people that migrated to Panama, right? So they ended up adopting Spanish, of course, but I know that's kind of like that's a little bit of controversy going on where reggaeton comes from. But like you say, it was probably a co-evolution, no?
Not in Puerto Rico, though. Everybody in Puerto Rico recognizes El General was the first reggaeton artist. It's like nobody that I've talked to in Puerto Rico is trying to deny it. Like everybody remembers when he came out. I was in like like junior high school. I remember we were all like crazy about this new music that was
amazing.
What year he came out? What year he came out?
Well, let's see.
Well,
I
this would have
graduated
been,
high school.
The 80s.
I
Early
graduated
80s.
high school in '95. So yeah, like late '80s, early '90s.
And what's
it-
interesting though, but what's interesting about
late
that
80s.
is that it wasn't just a blending of reggae, dancehall, and Spanish, right? It must have also been the garifuna beat, the Caribbean,
Well,
calypso.
Yes, because this is what it is. This is what the reggaeton is.
Because there's a like you can hear that break drum just going diggy 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 diggy.
That originally is Trinidad, and then it became slowed down for dancehall, right? Because remember that. Remember soca. It's soca, but when Jamaica came up, 82, 83, huh?
That's Yoruba. That's Bata rhythm from what is now Nigeria.
Yes, I'm not. Listen, I'm not saying it's not. I'm sure they have what they have, but the influence of what she's saying, everybody recognize Jamaica, because listen, remember, say the little island of Jamaica, what Jamaica did, just spiraled out in the rest of the world. So even although you're going to name me something that I probably didn't know, I'm just telling you that what was popular, it wasn't popular that it crossed back over here. What I'm saying is the Shabarang and all the dancehall artists, that beat, that's the problem, is that they gave it another name and say reggaeton, which means dancehall.
Well, I'm not trying to disagree.
It means dancehall.
Yeah,
you know, it literally means dancehall.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Paul. I'm just trying to make it even deeper than that, because that's a Ata rhythm from West Africa. Like,
okay, as all rhythms are originally from Africa,
and it's held together. That beat, it's played on that double-sided drum, the macho yembra, right? It's a prayer song. That's a ritual song, but it only makes sense with the clave, right? It's always.
Well, I was on tour.
It has the salsa influence, but it definitely has also the soca influence. I mean, you have to, if you look at the history of calypso in Puerto Rico, you see that there was like active calypso music being played with calypso bands, local calypso bands.
Huge.
So all of those influences, and then hip hop, the influence of hip hop as well, right? The influence of the blues, like that's definitely also there.
Yeah, man.
Definitely.
Papa Roy.
It even went the other way, though, también, Adriana, que the Jamaican sound system culture arrived in New York City, in the Bronx, and created the kind of context for what became hip hop, right?
Right.
Yes.
And it keeps on going back and forth.
There's a wonderful book that I got to shout out.
And that's totally left out all the time in the freaking conversation. And up till now, not one Jamaican rapper can really say he's coming from Jamaica to rap. They won't let him in. They won't let Kimani Marley in. I can tell you that, because what he really wanted to do is rap. He had to just give up and, all right, fuck it. I'm just going to do what my dad did and do reggae. That kid has wanted to rap. He grew up in America and they're not letting him in. So they've cloaked that hip hop shit. Yes, Biggie has Jamaican parents. We know that. But I'm talking about a kid straight up that come from Jamaica, step on the shore of America and say he wants to rap. They've not let them in. And Kimani, as much as he has the Marley name behind him, he has not been let through. Not on the level of all we've seen out there. Seriously.
That's real.
Because Kimani is doing reggae, but trust me when I tell you, his very first album, go listen to it. He's been wanting to do what he was never trying to do reggae. It was all the time. Hip hop is what is really in his soul. But he kept running into a freaking brick wall.
But it's just like, a lot of that's just language, though. I mean, it's pronunciation, because it's not like there's lyricists that have always been working in Jamaica over sound system culture. They just been spitting game in patois versus, stuff coming out of the South Bronx had an American flavor, American dialect associated with, but it's saying the same shit. It's the same kind of rude boy. It's the same kind of town ghetto drip. It's the same thing. So it
I
doesn't
want
matter.
to say, there's a Jamaican sister that has a wonderful book called Dance Hall from Slave Ship to Ghetto. And in that book, the book is called Dance Hall from Slave Ship to Ghetto. And it's the name is Sonia Stanley Nia is the name of the author. She's Yui in Mona campus.
Okay.
And she's big up. Her book is great. It's an amazingly well written, beautiful book about dance hall. And she has a couple chapters where she talks about sound systems in New York City and reggae parties and selectors and the sort of how the position of the MC really evolved out of Jamaican and Caribbean practices.
Oh,
wow. Speaking over a beat, right? Sort of like the high.
Well, I'm gonna give you guys two songs that changed the forefront of what became dancehall. Two songs. And if any book that is written, don't mention Admiral Bailey Punani Rhythm, which was the first drum program other than the slanting rhythm, which was the Casio beat, slowed down. It was a rock and roll, and they slowed it down, and that rhythm ended up having 100 and something artists voiced on it. So any book that is written, if you don't mention Admiral Bailey, the Punani rhythm, and don't mention Screwdriver, Sharana, Pregnant, You're Pregnant. That's the first dancehall reggae song that had what John says from whatever. It was really soca. I always say dancehall is really the beat, the drum pattern. It's soca music slowed down. Whereas the soca beat go, it's the you're not pregnant, you're pregnant. No, mama. If you go listen to what it was played with live drums. And that guy, he's the first guy that came with that beat where he played it slow down for a reggae song. Get what I'm saying? It was always being played as a soca song by Arrow, Sparrow, all the soca artists. But when it slowed down in 1984, 85 and came with that beat, that was the birth of this whole thing where everybody starts to say, oh, and the drum pattern told. Because remember, we had conflicts for years in Jamaica about the class system of reggae and soca. There's always that bullshit about the uptown people loving soca, and when they have their sessions, it's high price, and it's a certain class of the people that goes to the soca carnivals and shit. And there was always this class thing about Byron Lee, who owns Dynamq Sounds. He's the guy who brought about the carnival. And then there was a whole different thing with reggae, Sunsplash. Listen, Jamaica had its own little internal battles with classes, with soca music and dancehall. But when that guy did that song, Sharana, Pregnant, You're Pregnant, trust me, just go on YouTube and type in Screwdriver and listen to the drum beat. It's soca music, slowed down, but use a reggae artist from Montego Bay, my brethren. That was the birth of the new wave of...
Love it, Paul. Love the history. Love the history. You know, just to kind of sort of tell my story regarding all of this. One time I was on tour with Lucky Dubé, the great South African artist. And he and I had a bunch of great conversations. But he is just so, he was so witty and just amazing with words. One of these guys that, you love just hearing him speak. But I told him, I go, I just can't get over the way you guys play reggae in South Africa, man. It's just such a, the syncopation that's going on. And he goes, yeah, well, that's because we've been playing reggae for thousands of years. And I said, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I have my own takes on that. I can sit down and tell you about the African reggae guys that are playing, the differences in the drumming. I can break it down for you guys That'll take a couple of shows.
Yes,
I can describe
we'll get to that.
you. I can describe to you American reggae production different from British reggae production. Like Baby I Love Your Way doesn't have an upstroke on the piano. You remember when we were working with Jed?
Yes.
What's his name?
Yeah.
You remember what he said?
They hate it.
I don't know. You weren't there today.
No, but I know the whole thing.
Take
they
a
hate
leap
the
of faith, John. He hated this. He couldn't get it. He said, "Why do I have to do this?" Chung, chung, chung. And I'm like, that's why. And I realized over the years when I listened to the different reggae songs that ever hit the chart, it came clear to me as a youth coming up and studying production. When I heard a British, the UB40s, the Aswad, the Steel Pulse, the King Sounds, their reggae was more taken from what was going on in Jamaica.
Yeah, man.
So you never hear a British production that doesn't have the piano. It's natural to them because Britain, as much as it's further from Jamaica, but the culture is more closer to Jamaica. Whereas America now, the guys just couldn't understand why the piano had to play that honky-tonk fashion.
And all they wanted was the guitar, the guitar.
But if you check it out, Baby I Love You Way, this big tune that I adore so much, all it has in it is ching, 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 ching. And then I did a project with another big producer in New York doing Leon. Leon, from the actor Leon, Waiting to Exhale.
Yeah.
He did this album called The Road Less Traveled. And they called me into playing it. And all the songs, I noticed the producer guy was a guitar player. And when I did all the drum tracks, and like 3 months later, when I started hearing the mixes, guess what I was asking? Where's the piano and the shuffle? I was like, Leon, why didn't you guys call in Norris? Because it just doesn't come natural to producers in America, like, doing reggae.
They want to play reggae like Steve Miller or reggae like the Eagles.
John, they don't want it. They don't want the piano and all that.
Well, you should have seen like the producer of Baby I Love Your Way, Ron Fair. He wanted to play Baby I Love Your Way with the swing, Chaka ooh chaka baby I love your way,
More like a Hawaiian style.
Well, for some reason, Americans at that point, they thought all reggae had a swing.
Right. Yes.
You know what I mean? It was kind of like there was something about the hokey pokey, and he messed around with that for a whole week, and I was kind of just sitting in the back of the studio burning weed, and then one day I came and I said, "Have you ever listened to my song Touch My Light?" And he goes, yeah. I go, well, Baby I Love Your Way, it would work with that, just a straight 16th, Come on closer to me, right? Ooh, baby, I love. And he goes, why didn't you tell me that a week ago? I said, well, you never asked me. You're the big producer.
Yeah, man. I've dissected all that stuff. When you tell me that Lucky Dube said they've been playing reggae a long time, okay, I get what he's saying. Just like, honestly, lots of guitars was tapping before Van Halen, but Van Halen is the only one that revolutionized that type of flow on a hit record with Van Halen and with Michael Jackson beat it. So I'm saying lots of guitarists was doing the stuff, but if it didn't come out on a hit song, you was just another obscure guitarist.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Reggae's been around for 1,000 years, but it took a Jamaican to take it worldwide.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting to. And hence, really truly, the drumming, the African, because their music is kind of different. They do all their crashing on the upstroke. So they're no reggae song out of Jamaica. The drummers phrase like that. Carly, San Davis, all those guys be bass down on the beat. Trust me, I can break it down for you. We can do a whole nother show on that.
Boss, we're gonna do that.
Yeah, we need to, Paul. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But John can tell me about where the reggae beat, dancer beat come from, Ghana and all that stuff.
No. Dancehall comes from Baytown, Texas, right, John?
Dancehall?
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole other dancehall. We got accordions and shit.
Okay. All right, everybody shut up. Adriana, go.
Adriana, love you.
I love listening to these stories. I love listening to these stories. Thank you so much. No, I just want to say that there's reggaeton, but there's also like still reggae still alive in Puerto Rico too. We got people like Goomba Jabari. I don't know if you've heard.
Love
They
them.
got some big
Love them.
songs. There's the International Dub Ambassadors. I don't know if you heard them, but they're amazing. They just did a collaboration with my friend Nima, who's a queer feminist singer songwriter, and they put out some albums that are really sweet. Like if you want to just kick back and like chill, smoke something, listen to that, you're gonna enjoy it for sure.
Yes.
International Dub Ambassadors. How that one thing doesn't cancel the other thing out, right? Like we still have soca, we got reggae, we got reggaeton, we got dancehall, we got salsa, we got hip hop, and all of these musical genres can like continue to evolve and like speak to each other, speak to each other. That's a beautiful thing. That's that conversation.
There's a whole lot of conflict going on in Jamaica right now. Reggae and dancehall and the 90s producers and the 2000s producers having issue with what's going on right now with dancehall, and there's a whole heap of complaints. And you know what Tanya said? Tanya is like, yo, look, loud the youths. That's what Tanya said. Loud the youths. Loud the youths. That's what they're doing now, and we can't restrict them and say, oh, it should still be like 1990.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way, man.
It's a ball. It keeps moving, and that's where it is now. And leave the youths that let them do what they're doing, and you just know what you're doing. Serious. I've heard her.
The kids buy the records, man. The kids buy the records, man. You know what I mean? You can. It's okay to love your old records. You know, nobody's telling you can't put on your old records and enjoy them. But don't expect the kids to sit there and go, "Oh wow, who's playing bass on that track?" You know what I mean? They don't give it. It's not important to them. This is, they
y'all want to know. Y'all want to know what Quino jams to every morning while he's drinking coffee?
What?
Mona Ayala, El Disco de Oro. Los Bravos del Norte.
Vagando. Yeah. Yeah,
there ain't
man.
There ain't no drummer on that one though. It's just accordion and bow.
Well, there's a house being built right next door to where we live, and every morning it doesn't matter what I listen to. I gotta listen to these guys play norteño right next door, and it happens. Boom. Like 6:55, they try to wait till 7 o'clock, but they can't. It's just like 6:59. Boom, man, and that music is loud. And it's all tuba and accordion.
Oh God.
G-John, all right.
I don't know if you saw that. I mean, talking about the youth, right? Like Bad Bunny. I'm sure you've heard a little bit about this Puerto Rican artist.
He's a Bad Bunny, yes.
Bad Bunny, and I gotta say I'm a fan. And he recently did a song that was like a collaboration that was like norteña trap sort of thing.
Yeah, that's the new thing.
That was really interesting.
The kids are listening to sierreño music, which comes from where me and John, we share some roots from Chihuahua, the mountains in Chihuahua. There's this music where it's, a lot of it, some of it is in a waltz kind of style, but it's all and all of a sudden the guy comes in and he starts rapping to it like hip hop style. You're going, whoa.
Yeah, with the auto tune on it.
You guys seen this? Have you seen this culture in Monterrey, in Mexico? This Colombiano. The Colombianos, the
cumbia guys.
Yeah,
and they all comb their hair real weird.
Yeah, check out this movie on Netflix. It's about that culture, and it's about this youth who gets displaced from his Colombiano gang, his cumbia gang, his crew, and has to move to New York City, and he trips out because nobody appreciates the music.
And they slow it way down, huh?
Yeah, and so that slowing down, that comes from Houston. That comes from where I'm from. That's DJ Screw.
Screw Done Chop, yeah.
So that's DJ Screw come out of Houston, invented that. But somehow
all wall in them.
Monterrey, Mexico, and they slow down cumbias and have this ill like style and this way of dancing and stuff. It's beautiful.
That movie is called Ya No Estoy Aquí. I got a research team, by the way, anyway. Ya No Estoy Aquí se llama.
For all you English speakers, it's I'm No Longer Here. It's on Netflix. It's a brilliant movie. I showed it to my students this past spring, and they were blown away.
I've been meaning to watch that. I've been meaning to see it.
Oh, check it out. You'll dig it, Adriana. It's a dope ass movie.
Well, I'll tell. I heard a funny story about this old Colombian band that got a gig to Monterrey, and I can't remember the name, but it was a classic, heroes of earlier Colombia years. Cumbia, and they got a gig in Monterrey, and they were not ready for the crowd that they found. You get a gig, you never know who's gonna show up. You never know if you have a record, blah blah blah. And all of a sudden, it was like 2,000 cholos with their hair all dressed. It was, and they
it's
were
wild, man.
they were, a bunch of older guys on stage going, "What the fuck did we just fucking walk into?"
What Paul said earlier, and Adriana was speaking about it earlier, about how cultures, they all feed into each other, and there's nothing necessarily that's ever authentic. Like that Colombiano culture in Monterrey, it combines Cholo aesthetics, which are like from LA and El Paso, right?
Right.
Cholo street aesthetics, which are influenced. Cholo style is influenced by the prison system.
That's right, and that's a whole new. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, that's prison attire. That's prison dress. That's like adaptation to like criminal life.
And that's hip hop. That's hip hop, right? So
and that style was perfected, and it migrated south into Mexico. It's like the children of Mexican immigrants criminalized in the U.S. developed their own subculture. It travels back to Mexico, and encounters cumbia coming in through the drug trade. Really, it's because of the drug trade and the connection to Colombia. And so you get Cholo culture and Colombian culture mixing in northern Mexico to produce this kind of new hybrid youth thing that nobody can make sense of.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's lit, man. It shows you just how culture operates.
Kids, man.
They do say the honest things.
They say.
So how about we wrap up on that note?
Yeah, man.
Yes. Well, you guys, this has been amazing. Adriana, you have been just so important to bringing this conversation to a whole new level, and we totally appreciate your input. You are always invited here. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. Always know that 8 o'clock, somewhere between 10 and noon West Coast time on Friday, you have a home here.
Thank you.
I tell you, Adriana's the real deal. She's one of my heroes. We're blessed to have her in our presence. Thank you so much, Adriana, for joining us.
Yes, Adriana, nice to meet you, man. For real. Love that. Love the talk.
It's a privilege to hear you talk, Paul. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me, John. You're my boy. And thank you, Quino. I really appreciate it. I had such a blast. And again, I got to say thank you for that interview with Tanya, because I just brought, things to another level for me. So just thank you so much.
Oh,
nice.
And that's what we do it for. Paul, that was amazing today, man. Thank you so much, bro.
Thanks,
I mean, you're just such a wealth of information, man, and you break it down so beautifully.
No, me and John, when we come off, me and him gonna battle later. Because, I'm gonna call this after because
What you audience don't realize is that Paul and will be arguing and yelling at each other for the rest of the day today.
For where we at? As soon as we shut the show,
If you had on the Fox show, you would be arguing with like Breitbart and white supremacist trolls. You did this show and you end up arguing with Paul.
Yeah. No, but the way that Paul and I are going to argue off air, it should not be aired to anybody. It's too raw. I don't think the world can handle it. So
I don't think most people can understand it. To tell you the truth. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so.
Compa, thank you for those amazing questions, man.
Love,
and I mean, that was just right on, and it brought us. It's interesting because this conversation got a little serious for a minute. You know what I mean? And then eventually ends up coming back and being fun, and that's all due to my homie Dr. John Marquez and his ability to come up with some great prompts.
And Paul's air drumming.
Yes.
How do I dance, Paul? How do I dance? All right, everybody. Big Mountain Dub Club, you guys, thank you. I know that we still got some people here. You guys have hung in there. Thank you so much to the viewers. Cool. And do your best, please, to share this. It will be archived on Big Mountain Dub Club YouTube and Big Mountain Dub Club Facebook. Thank you, everybody. You guys have a great weekend.
All right. John, later.
I love.
Love you guys. Así está bien. All right. All right, y'all. Well, I guess I get to say a couple closing words here. Again, this is for you. You know, a lot of us have had this conversation for a while. I shouldn't say that. It's for me too. I'm learning so much. This is episode 6. The last month has been, for my growth, has been amazing. Because I'll tell you what, a month ago, I was not feeling this comfortable in front of the camera. I was starting to really doubt my ability to pull this thing together and play my part. Of course, I have so much help. Again, I have my brother Raul Peña and Rigo Limon here. And of course, I have these amazing folks in the discussion. And come on, man. My brethren, Sudanese Child, Dynamq Sound. What an amazing performance. This brethren, I love him so much. And the woman that we've been talking about, Tanya Stephens. Wow, you know, I think we've just covered just a little bit of this woman's amazing ability to make us think and make us really, you know, judge better. I think how much power we have, how much ability we do have to communicate. You heard it from her mouth. She believes she's a message giver first and foremost. You know, she gives us amazing entertainment that keeps us entertained, right? But really, within all of that is embedded what we like to call here a radical tradition, a dedication to trying to uncover that kind of stuff is what Dub Club is all about, all right? The roots of reggae music. Big love to everybody. See you next week, episode 7. Oh, hey, next week we have Ras Mohammed from Indonesia, an Indonesian reggae star. So this will be something very interesting that I think a lot of people are going to be enlightened about. All right, so see you next week, episode 7. One love. Ooh. It is spliff time. If you would like to contribute to the Big Mountain Dub Club, we have opened a Big Mountain Dub Club Patreon account just for that. Allows you to contribute using a credit card or a debit card. We will have different tiers in the future, giving away different items like t-shirts or maybe a inside view, some old archival video of Big Mountain demos, things like that. We're going to find a way to allow you to choose from a number of different tiers, okay? Thank you for your contribution. To contribute, go to patreon.com, that's patreon.com/Big Mountain Dub Club. Thank you for your support.
Reggae got soul. Oh, yeah. Reggae got soul.